The long rehab process. A smaller building has already been rehabbed and is hosting seminars and events.
Classes, workshops, films, lectures, kind of a full range of activities for all cultures and respecting all cultures.
This main building, which is the site of the former synagogue, will be turned into a huge community meeting room, seating hundreds of people. And in the back will be a multicultural exhibit showing all the different cultures that move through Boyle Heights. Israel's deputy foreign minister traveled across the ocean for this special occasion.
So here, this is also a microcosmos for me, for what America is really about, what Israel is really about. Bringing in people who have looked for hope, who have looked for better life.
The hope is the project will bring this community of immigrants even closer together. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Some of the initial money came from state and federal funding and from Jewish business leaders and the board of the Shul project. But to complete renovations, the project will have to raise another $15 million. We continue to bring you updates on the news coming out of the city's Budget and Finance Committee as the city heads into another challenging budget year. As Rasha Goel reports, layoffs may be put on hold.
Nearly 200 city jobs that had been on the chopping block received a 6-month reprieve by members of the Budget and Finance Committee, thanks to the discovery of new tax revenues.
That would be my motion to eliminate at least until January 1st, the need to lay off any employees as proposed.
The committee recommended the city use half of the $16 million in total savings toward deferring the layoffs, while the council decides how to use the remaining funds.
In the meantime, I think it's important that we realize where that money is going to be so that it's counted appropriately.
In addition, changes were made to parking fines. The Budget and Finance Committee had considered increasing street sweeping tickets by $10, but instead the committee is now proposing applying that increase to those who park illegally in handicap spots.
People that park in disabled parking places that are not disabled, shame on them.
Other parking violations will cost motorists an additional $5. The new fees are expected to bring the city at least $2.4 million in revenue. In downtown Los Angeles, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
You may not have had time to drop by your local food pantry to lend a hand or to clean out a bag of clothes to donate, but you may have had time to leave a few canned items next to your mailbox on a recent Saturday, as the mayor did, to help stamp out hunger. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, like countless individuals and families throughout America, had more than just outgoing mail to hand off to the letter carrier on Saturday, May 12th. May 12th marked this year's U.S. Postal Service one-day food drive called Stamp Out Hunger.
In the richest nation anywhere, we shouldn't have the levels of hunger and poverty. The kids that go without a meal when they go to school.
For the 20th year in a row, U.S. postal workers are helping to stamp out hunger all across the country by picking up donations of non-perishable foods from people's homes on the designated day.
The letter carrier will come by, collect the food, take it back to their local postal station, and then the food will be sent out to the food banks.
To food banks right back in the communities where the food was donated. And with his letter carrier Emily Yang's help, the mayor made several trips from the Getty House, the mayor's official residence, to the postal truck, carrying reusable bags filled with food.
We try to help the unemployment people and also the homeless people. That's why we are here, to help them, to support them.
An act of kindness that will go a long way to helping families in need fill their empty cupboards. Stamp Out Hunger is the nation's largest one-day food drive. Since its inception, the nationwide Stamp Out Hunger food drive has collected 1 billion pounds of food. Call it the Winds of Change, or 4 Winds to be exact. That's the name of a new affordable housing development born out of a formerly blighted plot of land. Cindy San Luis reports from El Sereno.
Good things come to those who wait.
And after 9 years, ELAC Councilmember Jose Huizar and the El Sereno community celebrated the unveiling of Cuatro Vientos, or Four Winds, a new 25-unit affordable housing apartment complex at 5331 East Huntington Drive.
When we take vacant buildings, blighted properties, other slum housing, and transform them into what is arguably the very best housing on the block, we have forever changed and renewed the landscape of a neighborhood.
Located on a 34,000 square foot hillside, the development replaces a vacant lot that had been a community blight since the mid-1990s. Since 1996, ELAC has harnessed over $124 million in housing and other community development resources for the benefit of low-income residents of Boyle Heights and unincorporated East Los Angeles. Cuatro Vientos sits on what used to be the Duran Ford family home. Jacqueline Ford Wingler said her late mother had a specific wish for the land.
When I was growing up through the years, she used to specifically tell me, oh, it would be lovely to be able to provide more affordable housing, more apartments for the community. We only have these 2 little units.
And now the Cuatro Vientos apartments vary from 1 to 4 bedrooms in either apartment style or townhouse style floor plans.
To look at this beautiful apartment complex, to know that there's going to be families now that can afford to have a roof over their heads, to provide for their families, that is something that is very, very special.
In this place, our children have better opportunities to have a better life.
Other features include a garden terrace, children's play area, and a community room. The development is conveniently located near public transportation and neighborhood services. From El Sereno, I'm Cindy San Luis for LA This Week.
The units are reserved for families earning less than half of the area's median income. The city urges state lawmakers to release the money needed to build the high-speed rail, a new and improved LADWP website, and a hike for health at Griffith Park. These stories and more in City Beat.
The LA City Council has approved a resolution from Councilman Tom LaBonge that calls on state lawmakers to release funds for the high-speed rail approved by voters back in 2008. The money would fund the first phase of the rail system through the Central Valley. The High-Speed Rail Authority's revised 2012 business plan lowers the project's cost to $68.4 billion.
Literally 10 years from today, if all things go as we hope, we will have the first operating segment of high-speed rail, 300 miles, that will go from the Central Valley, from Merced, all the way down to the San Fernando Valley.
Once completed, the high-speed rail is expected to take passengers from Los Angeles to San Francisco in about 2.5 hours. Los Angeles and New York City's adopted responsible banking ordinances on the same day last week. The landmark law adopted by the LA City Council was drafted by Councilman Richard Alarcon. It requires banks that do business with the city to disclose how they are reinvesting in Los Angeles.
$30 billion that the city of Los Angeles invests through our pension plans and other programs. Do we want banking institutions to then turn around and not invest in Los Angeles?
Before the LA City Council vote, activists held a rally outside City Hall in support of the ordinance. One of the most frequented municipal websites in the nation is now better than ever. The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power has unveiled a more user-friendly website, which can be viewed in both English and Spanish. The new and improved www.ladwp.com makes viewing and paying bills online easier. The site also features real-time power outages maps and information which can be accessed 24/7. 5th and 6th graders from several schools in Councilman Tom LaBonge's 4th District recently gathered for the councilman's Hike for Health up to the 1,625-foot peak of Mount Hollywood. The hike is meant to introduce grade school kids to Griffith Park and the joy of the great outdoors. Some animals from the LA Zoo also went along for the hike.
We have some arachnids. We have a black widow and a tarantula. So she's going to be joining us on the way up at the top. So she's just woken up a little bit. She's got some food in there waiting for her.
The LAPD mounted police and Robbie the robot from the Bureau of Sanitation were also there to meet the students.
Transforming the San Pedro waterfront is one of Councilman Joe Buscaino's main priorities, and one of many projects that will complete that transformation recently broke ground.
The Port of Los Angeles has long been known for its commerce, but not as a tourist destination. That's about to change. City leaders recently broke ground on a renovation project at the Plaza Park in San Pedro, located between 7th and 13th Streets and Beacon Street and Harbor Boulevard, a project 10 years in the making. The first of 4 planned phases includes the construction of new concrete paths and guardrails, new benches, drinking fountains, and infrastructure for future lighting and slope irrigation.
The beautification of Plaza Park means we are one step closer to becoming a destination. I look forward to driving down Harbor Boulevard and witnessing the transformation in progress. Progress is underway, ladies and gentlemen, and this is only the beginning.
The Plaza Park renovation project was spearheaded by San Pedro resident Anne Goucher 10 years ago. She was honored at the groundbreaking ceremony. But the project has become a true collaborative effort with many city departments, including Recreation and Parks and the Bureau of Engineering.
Personally, I live on 17th Street, so I use this area all the time. I walk and run up and down these stairs as part of my exercise, so I'm looking forward to the improvement. I think it's something that's really beneficial to San Pedro and opening up the waterfront. Once this is created, it's going to be here for generation after generation for this community. And this is a legacy that we can leave behind for our kids, our grandkids, and so forth.
A community better known for its industrial contributions is making a name for itself as a destination town, one improvement, one park at a time.
In this week's list of things to do, a celebrity curates an exhibit all about Rebel Without a Cause, a child safety seat event, and a Greek festival in the Valley.
Actor, writer, Oscar host, and now artist. James Franco recently premiered his exhibit Rebel at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Los Angeles, or MoCA. Rebel is an ode to Nicholas Ray's masterpiece Rebel Without a Cause. Franco got his big break playing James Dean in the 2001 TV movie. The exhibit, which features the works of many different individuals, uses film, video, photography, painting, and more to reinterpret the film, its many themes, the actors themselves, as well as the film's place in history. The exhibit is being hosted at a pop-up annex location at 941 North Highland Avenue. More info can be found at moca.org. If you're in town on Memorial Day weekend, head on over to the St. Nicholas Valley Greek Festival at the St. Nicholas Greek Church, located at 9501 Balboa Boulevard in Northridge. The 3-day festival, the biggest Greek festival in all of Los Angeles, will be held Friday to Monday, May 26th, 27th, and 28th from 1 to 9 p.m. daily. This San Fernando Valley tradition features Greek music, dance, food, culture, games, booths, and more. For more information, go to valleygreekfestival.com. And if you have a baby or toddler, it is of the utmost importance to make sure their car seats are safely installed. That's why the Northridge Hospital Medical Center is holding a child care seat safety event on Saturday, May 26th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the hospital's Education Auditorium. The checkups are run by trained and certified child passenger safety technicians. The hospital is located at 18300 Roscoe Boulevard in Northridge. The event is by appointment only. To schedule an inspection, call 818-885-8500, extension 3437. And remember, you can find this information on our Facebook page. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do.
Home tours are a way for everyday folks interested in architecture and design to see how the other half lives. But at one recent home tour, the spotlight was not on the houses, but the gardens out back.
It's the latest thing in gardening, backyard beekeeping. Not only can the bees help increase the pollination in your garden, you can even harvest your own honey. It's just one of the things folks learned about at the Learning Garden. It's one of the gardens that took part in the 4th annual Mar Vista Green Gardens Showcase, a free self-guided tour of community and home gardens.
We're here to meet the other people who are in the garden tour and kind of share, because actually this is the first year they're doing that, because last year everybody's in their home hoping, people come and see their garden, and we don't get to meet each other, all the people on the tour. So they thought it would be a great idea to meet all the people who have the same, excitement and enthusiasm for growing things in their yard.
At this Mar Vista Green Gardens Showcase pre-show event, folks did more than mingle. They took a tour of the Learning Garden, Venice High School's student garden.
At all the schools, they grow things that they can eat. So that's the primary thing, but the ornamentals bring in the important bees and other insects that help the edibles thrive, and they're also, of course, very aesthetically pleasing.
Gardening is one of the most nurturing connections we can make that enhance our lives.
Councilmember Bill Rosendahl, who dropped by the preview event, picked a few vegetables to take home.
Good carrots, folks. They're growing carrots right here, Venice High School. How wonderful.
The annual event is gaining a following from an increasing number of people who are growing instead of buying the food they eat.
My children, they will eat basil leaves or mint leaves right off of the bush, and they just love, great tasting vegetables, and it's just amazing to me that that comes out of the earth.
Out of the earth and onto your plate, a way of life that's taking root.
In all, this year's showcase featured 99 gardens, including school gardens and green sites like the Million Trees LA facility, but most were home gardens. And that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
G'day, Troy McCubbin from North Hollywood. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
Good morning. This is Los Angeles City Council. This is Friday, May 25th. It's Memorial Day weekend. Remember to check for your civic ceremonies in your communities throughout the Southland to remember those who pay the ultimate price and remember Memorial Day, our service people. This time, I'd like to call on Council President Herb Wesson for a very special presentation for our Department of Animal Services. And I want to thank Mr. Koretz and Mr. Garcetti for their attendance now.
Come on. Thank you, Mr. President and members. Oh, wait. Tommy, let's get the recording going.
Okay, it's up. We're up. We're on.
Okay, we're ready to go.
Yes, we're on.
Anyway, this is Pet Adoption Friday, my favorite day of the month. I have with me today a mixed shepherd that they named Batman. All you have to do is look at his mask. And they named him Batman. Anyway, here at the City of Los Angeles, we've been doing this Adopt a Pet program for 6 years, where it relates to our dogs and puppies. We have a 100% adoption rate. So most of the animals that get adopted don't leave the council chambers. But we're going to have our volunteer in the back for a few minutes, so if anybody wants to come and look at Batman, they can. If you ever wanted unconditional love, then trust me, you get it from a little fellow like this, who is going to grow to be a decent size, so he'll be able to protect you as well. Now, we have fun, and we joke about pet adoptions. I know Mr. Koretz is here. Usually I do dogs, and Mr. Koretz does cats. We have so many animals in need of a home. And like I said, we have fun doing this, but in essence, we are saving the lives of these animals, because we cannot care for all of the animals that we have. So we need to partner with the community. And I'm asking you to save Batman's life. We will have Batman in the back. I have a feeling he won't last long. I know Betsy was looking at him, and I guess she's waiting to get approval from her husband or daughters or something.
She's going to take him. She's going to take him.
Wait, did you get the okay yet? So did they say you could? Did they say yes? They said yes. So see?
Good job, Mr. Wesson.
Our 100% adoption rate is still alive.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is our own. In fact, by the time I'm termed out, I'm going to sell a dog to every city employee.
Very good, Mr. Wesson. Thank you very much.
Oh, I've forgotten, sometimes 2 dogs.
You got it. Anyone for the library department here? Is the library department here? Martine, good job. Thank you very much. Yes. Mr. Alarcon, our special guest is here. Please welcome Richard Alarcon, Chair of the Arts, Parks, Health and Aging, which handles our library for a very special presentation.
Council members, you know the man joining me here at the podium is Martin Gomez. Most recently retired from our library system as the general manager of our library system. And so we are here to recognize the service he provided us since 2009 when he was appointed head of the library system. And by the way, we do serve the largest population of any public library in the country, so that's no small task indeed. Prior to that, he served as president and CEO of the Urban Libraries Council. His other positions include executive director of the Friends of and Foundation of the San Francisco Public Library, chief executive of the Brooklyn Public Library, and library director of the Oakland Public Library. So he knows a little bit about public libraries. He's considered one of the nation's top library reformers, advocating to expand library resources in urban communities, work that I feel is very important, particularly given the notion of the digital divide. Through his efforts, the African American Museum and Library in Oakland was established, and the Brooklyn Public Library underwent the digital revolution. In Los Angeles, he spearheaded Measure L, a city charter amendment that provides a guaranteed incremental set-aside of city general fund revenue for the Los Angeles Public Library. In April 2012, Martin was appointed Vice Dean of Libraries at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. So now he is a Trojan. As Vice Dean, his responsibilities include overseeing the management of public services, collections, and operations of USC's 22 campus libraries. In his new position, he will continue his work to expand library resources in urban communities, and of course, we wish him the best of luck in his new position. He is still in Los Angeles, and I'm sure he will be accessible and available for special advice relative to our own public library system, and certainly we will be coordinated better than ever with USC's library system. And for his work as a city librarian and his efforts to expand library resources in urban communities, it's my pleasure to present him with a small token of our appreciation, this certificate of recognition, signed by all of you. Martin, thank you so much for your service. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you already have the USC tie-on. Here you go. Thank you. Please.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Martin, it is bittersweet to lose you, but it's nice to know you're just down the road. And it's one of the most proud achievements of my time here and most enjoyable moments working with you, to be able to make sure that we stood up for our libraries, but to be with a great innovator, to be with this person who navigated the sometimes choppy political waters of being in the library system here. You brought people together. You made sure that our employees were valued. You made sure that our library foundation had a role. You made sure that the administration of the library and our volunteers always had a place at the table. And to me, it's a real model of what a general manager should be. As I said, it's bittersweet because I think we still have great things to do together, but I hope that you'll continue to help sustain our library system, which is the best anywhere in the world. It is the great kind of instrument of democracy. You can be a homeless individual and you can be a billionaire, and coming into the library, you're treated the same. And you have librarians who want to help you, whether it's find a job, access information, improve your life, read a poem you've never read before, dream something you never thought possible. And that's who Martin is as well. And so congratulations. I'll call you Vice Dean from now on. But as somebody who spent some time on the USC campus as a professor, it's a wonderful place. It is even if I'm a Bruin at heart, it's still a decent university. And it is a place, too, that I think will benefit from your ability to bring together those partnerships that have always defined the work that you have done. So, mil gracias, congratulations, and I look forward to continuing our friendship and always count you part of the City of Los Angeles family. Congratulations.
Mr. Huizar.
Thank you very much. I, too, wanted to thank you for your work, and I saw the incredible passion you have for the library system through our budget discussions and how you defended and protected and stood up for our libraries. Thank you so much for that. I know you've already resigned and have accepted, but in the next couple of days, I'm going to see UCLA has some openings for you to probably consider as well. But thank you so much for your work. It's been a pleasure to work with you. I commend you for all the work you've done, and you not only provided a great manager for the system, but you went beyond the call of duty to create great exhibits. I went to a few here at the Central Library that you brought on these great exhibits, and that brought in people to the libraries to see what great libraries we have, but you also brought forward some exhibits for all to see of some history that we don't often talk about. So thank you so much for your work. We're going to miss you here, but you certainly are just down the street, and I know we're going to see more of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Martin, I just wanted to flash the greatest card in the city of Los Angeles. Everybody should have a Los Angeles Library card. Think of all that you've done and the team over there. Great job. Martine, big hand for Martine Gomez.
Mr. Ellicott and Mr. Labange, Mr. Weston, members of the council, thank you very much. It was an honor and privilege for me to serve as general manager and city librarian for the city of Los Angeles, one of the most challenging jobs certainly I've ever had in my career. I want to thank the council for its full support of Measure L. It was a unanimous decision to put that on the ballot, and I know that many of you, if not all of you, worked very, very hard in your districts and citywide to make sure that the voters understood that this was something that was of value to the residents of Los Angeles. I also want to thank the many employees of the Los Angeles Public Library who also worked on their own time to pass Measure L, but also for the great work they do every day, 6 days a week, soon to be 7 days a week, thanks to Measure L for the residents of Los Angeles. I want to thank my fellow general managers who I've worked with over a short period of time, but a very meaningful and very challenging time for everybody in the city of Los Angeles. I will forever be an Angelino. I will forever be a card holder, and as you've said earlier, I will just be down the street. And last but not least, I want to thank the mayor for giving me the opportunity to serve as the general manager and city librarian. Thank you for this recognition. It means a lot to me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's nothing better than a librarian.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to call on Councilman Bernard Parks. Another hand for Bernard Parks right now.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be joined by Jan Perry. I'd like to ask our special guest to come up, Jamal Keith Wilkes, former Los Angeles Laker. Also, I'd ask Mr. John Black to come up, who is the Vice President, Laker Public Relations. Come on up here with us. Today, we want to honor a young man that we have seen in a variety of capacities. He's one of the most honored UCLA basketball players in the school history, not just for his on-court accolades, but also for his academic prowess and social awareness. A 6'7", three-time starting forward. During his Bruin tenure at UCLA, they won 2 NCAA championships, 1972 and 1973, and 3 Pac-10 titles, 72 through 74. Jamal was part of UCLA's NC2A record 88-game winning streak, which ended during his senior year. Individually, he was a 2-time All-American and an All-Pac-10 performer in 2 years. And the senior, he was a captain in 1974 with Bill Walton. He also was one of only 3 Bruins, Walton, Greg Lee, and himself, who was a teammate in 71 through 74 in the school's history to earn academic All-American honors for 3 straight years, 72 through 74. He was also an economics major. He was named to the Verizon Academic Hall of Fame in 1990. In college, Jamal's 12-year NBA career was noteworthy for team championships and individual honors. A first-round draft choice, 11th overall pick, he made immediate impact on the Golden State Warriors as a rookie in the 1975 NBA championship. He was also an essential member of the Los Angeles Lakers team known as Showtime that captured 3 titles in the early 80s. During Game 6 of 1980 NBA Finals, the Los Angeles Lakers opened the third quarter with a 14-0 run keyed by Jamal, who had 16 points in the quarter. At the end of the fourth quarter, Jamal had a career-high 37 points and 10 rebounds, which led to the Los Angeles Lakers becoming NBA champions. Following this basketball career in 1985, Jamal, born in 1953 in Berkeley, California, had a 7-year career as a mortgage and real estate consultant, beginning with Topa Management. He obtained his securities license and life insurance license and became a registered representative of AXA Advisors in 1999.
So in 2003, Jamal Wilkes Financial Advisors was formed, and in recent years, Jamal Wilkes Financial Advisors has specialized in physical gold and other precious metals and has become a resource to other advisors and their clients. In addition to real estate and financial services, Jamal adds value due to his tremendous wealth of experience in sports, health and wellness, business, and life in general. He obtained his Bachelor of Science degree in economics and has also completed professional designations in general business and real estate from the UCLA Extension in 1988, along with being one of the co-authors behind the book and audio course entitled Success Under Fire, Lessons for Being Your Best in Crunch Time. Jamal has been a highly sought-after motivational speaker for national organizations and Fortune 500 companies. He has long been active in the Southern California community. He is a member of the Boys and Girls Club of America National Hall of Fame, a co-founder of the Jamal Wilkes UCLA Unicamp Golf Tournament, a past member of the Board of Directors of the Western Region United Way, past member of the Board of Trustees for the UCLA Foundation, and former member of the Board of Directors of the Los Angeles Urban League. Jamal's UCLA coach, the legendary John Wooden, ESPN's Coach of the Century and Sporting News' greatest coach of all time, paid Jamal his highest compliment when asked once by the New York Post in 1985 to describe his ideal player. I would have the player be a good student, polite, courteous, a good team player, a good defensive player and rebounder, a good inside player and an outside shooter. Why not take Jamal Wilkes and let it go at that? So today, on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, it's a pleasure to commend Jamal Keith Wilkes, the man affectionately known as Silk, as he will be inducted in a ceremony at the Basketball Hall of Fame on September the 7th, 2012. The contributions he has made to the NBA and the community are truly valuable and will long be cherished by many. So best wishes for your continued success in all of your future endeavors.
I would like to thank Councilman Parks and Councilwoman Perry and the LA City Council for this very special and wonderful recognition. I'd also like to thank the City of Los Angeles for their love and support through the years. And I'm just truly honored and humbled and excited and exhausted to be going into the Basketball Hall of Fame in September. But from my very deepest meaning, I want to thank you so very much. Thank you.
Congratulations, Jamal. We thank you very much. Very nice. Go Bruins. Yeah. All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alarcon, Buscaino, Cardenas, Englander, Garcetti, Weezer, Carrasco, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Zion, Wesson, 13 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Garcetti moves and Mr. Weezer seconds.
Committee to resolutions for approval.
Mr. Alarcon moves. Mr. Krikorian seconds.
Would you like to run through the agenda, Mr. President?
Say it again.
Items 1 and 2 are public convenience or necessity items in Council Districts 5 and 4, notice for public hearing. There are cards on both items.
So we call those special?
Yes.
Next item.
There is request to continue items 4 and 3, item 3 to June 26th and item 4 to June 1st.
That's so ordered.
Items 3 through 16 are items for which public hearings have been held.
All right, 3 through 16. Any specials on 3 through 16? Public hearings have been held. 3 through 16. All right, no requests for specials. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
All right, so ordered. Next item.
Items 17 through 28 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
All right, let's open the roll, Close the roll, tabulate the vote. Hold on a second. Without objection. Those items are
13
before
ayes.
us. We have cards on them.
Cards on items 17, 18, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28.
All cards with cards were called special, unless any of those items would be continued by members. Any specials, members?
21.
21 for Big Joe. 21.
18.
18 for 18. Madam Clerk, can you give me any help on that? No. Thank you very much. What else we got, Madam Clerk?
Mr. President, Council should vote on item 19, which is remaining.
All right, let's open the roll on 19. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you. Next item.
Mr. President, that takes council back to presentations or items called special or general public comment.
We're going to go to Joe Buscaino, the councilman of San Pedro and Watts, Harbor Gateway, and Wilmington. Give Joe a big hand.
Congratulations. Good to see you.
Joey
Thank you, Mr.
B,
President.
the floor
Thank
is
you, Mr.
yours.
President. Oh, Mr. Nazir's here. We have two of the students? Great. Colleagues, what you have here before you, is Let Up Leaders Empowering Teens United for Peace, representing San Pedro High School and Carson High School. And in a moment, I'll recognize the teens here. And thank you for this opportunity to acknowledge just an outstanding group of individuals here before us. Let Up is a group made up of young individuals, students, parents, and faculty who have come together united behind one specific goal, and that goal is to eliminate discrimination on campus. The group was formed in February of 2000 surrounding the killing of a San Pedro High School student. After learning of the teen's death, students and faculty began to question the tragic incident. Meanwhile, tensions among students on campus grew. Students became concerned for their safety and intervention was desperately needed. When campus tensions were at its height, Dr. Wendy Warren, the founder of Let Up, took it upon herself to mediate among the students on campus. After a series of weekly meetings, the meeting place became safe and comfortable for students to vent and retain guidance from peers and mentors and administrators. Peace efforts were felt all over campus. Differences were put aside and focus was placed on common goals of wanting to succeed and make positive choices in their lives. The group adopted the name Let Up, Leaders Empowering Teens United for Peace. Since the tragedy back in February of 2000, the program has taken on many steps and forms, but continues to remain dedicated to keeping things safe on campus. And I've had the opportunity as a senior lead officer to turn to Let Up when we had issues off campus that ultimately would affect issues on campus. And what a fantastic group, what a fantastic concept, Dr. Wendy Warren here. Dr. Warren now is a principal at Carson High School. And here with me is the advisor from San Pedro High School, also Mr. Carl Tank. We also have Mr. Nazir, Officer Eve White. And you're going to hear shortly from two students who will clearly testify how Let Up solved problems and also addressed the issues of bullying and prevented crimes from occurring both on campus and off campus. So I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Wendy Warren to say a few words, then I'll present my commendation here. Go ahead.
Thank you, Councilman Buscaino, who was there breaking down the walls between students and authority figures. It was huge. We started when a student was murdered in the community between gang-affiliated young men, and they found that they had so much in common could move beyond that. So a few years at San Pedro, when I was promoted to Banning, we started it then. It diminished a lot of group fights. And now my first year at Carson High School, I brought 4 students from Carson High School for the first Let Up group at Carson High School. So I just want to thank all of you. I want to thank Carl Tank for continuing the tradition at San Pedro High School, and thank you for this opportunity. So,
great, thank you. I want to bring up Ella is a student at San Pedro High School. She's going to give us a minute of her experience as Let Up. It's also Ella's birthday, by the way. Come on up, Ella.
Good morning. Good morning, City Council. My name is Ella Johnson, and I'm a junior at San Pedro High School, of course, and this is my first year being in Let Up. I can honestly say that this past year, I've been able to acquire leadership abilities that I never had before. Leadership Empowering Teens United for Peace has proven that there are those students who care about others no matter who they are. We come together and make choices that benefit not only ourselves, not only the students and the staff, but the entire community, because we help set the example for those who surround us. My personal experience while in Let Up involves that of saving a young girl's life one day after school. I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time because I found this girl in the bathroom with the stall door closed and blood all over the floor within her stall. Another person might have walked away from the situation at hand, but I instantly developed a Let Up-esque mentality and decided to search for help. I found the nurse, and she was able to help me and the young girl as well. We contacted the authorities, the police, and the ambulance, and she finally came out. And the first thing I noticed were cuts all over her arm. The second thing I noticed was that she was a friend of mine, and it immediately brought tears to my eyes. She'd been mutilating herself without the intention of getting caught, and if I hadn't been there, who knows what would have happened. Now I see this person every day, and even though she doesn't attend our school anymore, I make sure she's okay and tell her that she's capable of so much more than ending her life. This was a wake-up call for me, and it's something I will honestly never forget. After sharing this with Let Up, this has shown that this group is so much more than what it originally started as, and I'm very proud to be a member of this club. Thank you.
You are our hero, Ella. Thank you. Next up for a quick minute is Tim, who's going to share a story.
Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing today? Let Up for me has always been a safe house for me to take all my problems and let them out. Let Up has done great things for me. It's given me the power to do things I never thought possible. It's given me strength and hope for our generation today. My story involves my friend, and I had never known she had such problems with her life, and she had the intent to end her life as well. And I called her one morning, and she had told me how she had cut her wrists and that she cut too deep, and she was bleeding out. So I had called her, and I gave her the instructions to help her stop the bleeding, and she had went to the hospital. Her grandma was away for surgery, and she had no one to help her, so I had went over to her house and brought her to the hospital to help her with her problem, and she's gladly alive today. And I help her every morning with telling her that she's better than that, and that she's a great person, and that really pulls her through each and every day. And it was just, if I didn't have Let Up in my life, I wouldn't have been able to have done that. Good job,
Timmy. Good job. Good job. So proud of you. Wow, we're so proud of Ella and Tim and the teens here who are united for peace, and also these are go-to people on campus and off campus as well. I'm here to present. In fact, let's have all the Let Up members stand up here. Just give them a round of applause. These are our teen leaders in the community representing Wilmington, San Pedro, Harbor City, Harbor Gateway. Thank you so much. So with that, Dr. Wendy Warren, here's a certificate in recognition of your peacekeeping efforts at San Pedro High School, Carson High School. Students, parents, and faculty have come together united behind one specific goal: to eliminate discrimination on campus. Thank you for your dedication to this great program, and for your continued service. I have one for Wendy, one for Carl Tank. Let's have the kids come on up. We'll take a quick photo. All right, come here, Carl. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino.
Are we going?
Ms. Perry, for our next presentation.
Take this group with you? Yes. Everybody else goes on the back. Wendy wants her. Oh, we'll make sure everything's okay. They're going to do this in the back. We're going back. They're all going to the same place.
Hey, ladies. Bring your support with you. Yes, of course. Where's Dame Barbara? Have Dame Barbara stand next to you. Wow. Come close, come close. That's right. This is a photograph of Catherine Joan Haber. Why don't you tell us, Catherine, let's see if they can pick it up. Where were you standing when this photograph was taken?
I was at Buckingham Palace.
This is Catherine Joan Haber standing in front of Buckingham Palace. Cameras focusing in on this. A little bit more, a little bit more. Let's see if we can get the... That's pretty good. And now tell us what you're holding in your hand.
I'm holding in my hand an MBE, which I just received from Princess Anne on behalf of Her Majesty the Queen for services to the community performed in Los Angeles.
This is beautiful. It's my honor and my pleasure to extend my sincere congratulations to Catherine Joan Haber, or Katie as we know her. She is the charity director and co-chair of the British American Film Television Association Education and Outreach Committee here in Los Angeles. Ms. Haber has just returned from England, where she had the distinct pleasure of being honored by Queen Elizabeth for her services to the community in Los Angeles. She was recognized by the Queen in the New Year's Honors list with a Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, MBE designation. Katie joins a distinguished group of MBE recipients for her work in Los Angeles. To give you a better idea of how impressive this honor is, the Beatles also received this honor. As a founding member of the British Academy of Film and Television Arts in Los Angeles, Katie has spearheaded efforts to support the broader community and made a special effort to support and outreach to underserved communities. And the work that she has done for years now, 11 years, in South Los Angeles has been absolutely extraordinary. As chair of BAFTA's Outreach Committee, Katie saw the creation of the Helen Keller Park screening facility that allows members of the South Los Angeles community to see over 20 first-run movies in a family-friendly environment. The program has garnered such popularity that the county is now renovating the park, complete with a new community room, and will serve as a permanent BAFTA Los Angeles screening room. BAFTA LA most recently embarked on a wonderful new program, a production of Romeo and Juliet with students from George Washington Prep and of surrounding schools to do this production. This is a great honor, and I join in congratulating her in her achievement because she's already made the difference in the lives of so many. Joining her today is Dame Barbara Hay, who is the Consul General from Great Britain, and I would like Consul General to say a few words.
In fact, Ms. Perry, we have Ms. Perry,
yes.
You have another member that would like to speak. So, Mr. Labange, why don't you speak first, and then we'll hear from...
Katie, I just want to congratulate you. I know of your work. I know Camilla Blanche and our office have been able to help a little on the way. You got a great team around you. But all what Ms. Perry said, is only multiplied by 1,000,000 because of what you've done. And also it speaks to the greatness of our city that someone could come to this city and find a way to help other people in such a way that you do. Katie, you're a wonderful person. I love you for all what you do. And now I'm going to turn it back to Dame Barbara right there. Thank you, Katie.
You're on. Thank you. Thank you, Dame Barbara.
Thank you. Council members, it's a great honour to be here today, and it's a real pleasure and a privilege to support Katie getting this wonderful award from you. Getting an MBE, becoming a member of the Order of the British Empire, is not something that is given to everybody by any stretch of the imagination. Competition is very fierce, and I know from connections that I have in Buckingham Palace that the Queen looks at all the nominations herself and decides, yes, tick in the box, that one's going good to go. What's wonderful for us overseas, people like me representing the British government and the United Kingdom, is particularly in a city like Los Angeles, seeing the numbers of Brits who live here. We're not really sure how many there are. We hope they don't give you too much trouble, but we think there's something like 250,000 Brits just in Los Angeles alone. And what's really pleasing is to see the way they embed themselves into this magnificent community, whether it's in business or education, in life sciences, whatever it is. And Katie, of course, embodies what the British Academy of Film and Television Arts brings to Los Angeles in the entertainment and the cultural industries. But what's really important is the way that she's embedded herself in an underserved community in Los Angeles for a great many years. It's brought distinction to the Academy, it's brought distinction to the United Kingdom, and it's brought great distinction and affection to Katie herself. And I'm delighted to be here with her today. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dame Barbara. Now, Katie has a support group or a fan club with her today. And I know a few of them, and I'm going to ask her to introduce the rest. Joining us today is Commander Blake Chow from LAPD, and Mr. Curtis Woodall. Where is he? There he is over here. Come on. You sort of can't miss him. You can't miss him. And so why don't you two come up and say why you're here today?
This is Katie's day, but all I'd like to say is Katie brings hope. Katie brings hope to the really bare bones community in our city. And as a 27-year veteran of the police department, I love having her in these communities. Thank you.
That's nice.
Good morning, council members. You know, the thing that really sets Los Angeles apart from other places that we've seen is the ability of the community to come together to really help disadvantaged communities in our city, and as you dig into it, you realize you meet people like Katie who have really gone out of their way to help the city achieve those goals, and I just wanted to come here and support her and congratulate her on her award.
Thank you. So introduce your friends. Come on. Say something. Say a few words. Come on. Come on. Don't be shy. Come on, stand up here. Come.
We're here as board members of BAFTA in Los Angeles, and we support Katie in all that she does, and we're very pleased that she's been with us.
And I second that. And I third that.
Thank you. Thank you, board members. All right, Katie.
I just would like to thank City Council, and above all, City Councilwoman Jan Perry and the Councilwoman Tom LeBond, who have been through this journey with me since way back, since the early 90s. I know Councilwoman Jan Perry supported the Dome Village concept that we ran to support homeless people, and even donated some money towards the first Compton Cricket Club tour of England. It's also the cricket club that Commander Blake has supported. He's joined the team, but I haven't seen him play yet, but the Compton Cricket Club is a team of ex-gang members from Compton who now play cricket and tour the world as ambassadors of peace and goodwill to show that there is an alternative to gang lifestyles. And through cricket, it's quite an exception. I just came back from Lord's, visiting Lord's cricket ground, and I was asked to speak on behalf of the Compton Cricket Club and what inner city kids from Compton are doing to prevent gang prevention through cricket. I was internationally heard by everybody. So Compton is well represented in England through cricket. And above all, I want to thank the City Council for their support of everything that I do. Without them, I couldn't have completed these programs. And I thank Curtis Whittle. Thank you. And Commander Blake.
Right there.
Yeah. Where is it? Oh,
Yeah, there he is. Can't miss him.
Anyway, thank you for this honor. It's deeply, deeply appreciated. You're welcome.
Congratulations.
Quick photo. And then we'll go in the back.
Mr. Koretz, for your presentation.
Good morning.
Hey, how are you?
Thank you very much. I have a few leaders standing up behind me. They won't say anything.
Perfect.
Mr. Koretz, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. A city can only be as good as its schools, and in UCLA we have one of the world's very best. UCLA's greatness can be attributed to its traditions and innovations, its wonderful campus and facilities, its tremendous students, its historic sports program, and Jamal Wilkes wasn't here as a prop just to illustrate that. It was just a coincidence. But perhaps more than anything, UCLA is revered because of its remarkable educators. And today we're here to honor one of the very special ones, Amy Dorr, as she prepares to end her extraordinary service as a dean this June 30th, 2012. For this presentation, I'm delighted to welcome Dean Dorr and family and friends, including some of the many who have had the privilege of working with her. Amy Dorr has served with much distinction and dedication as Professor and Dean of the UCLA Graduate School of Education and Information Studies, where she taught, guided, and inspired countless students for 31 years. It's amazing to think of all these students and all of how many have in turn become educators, and it's that glorious spreading positive impact that one educator such as Dean Dorr can have on so many families, students, lives, and whole generations. During her tenure, Dean Dorr has worked tirelessly to establish the preeminence of this graduate school in the areas of equity, access, and multiculturalism in K-12 and higher education, in library, archival, and information services. She's led the school in enhancing significantly the diversity of its faculty, students, and staff. Under her direction, this graduate school has also taken the lead at UCLA in creating and supporting the UCLA Community School, which is an LAUSD K-12 pilot school that serves primarily low-income immigrant communities in the Pico Union, Koreatown area, and simultaneously addresses the University of California's commitment to teaching, research, and service. Dean Dorr also headed the effort to establish and grow Tie-Ins, which is a UCLA-wide program that brings increased UCLA engagement to a family of nearby K-12 schools that in exchange enroll children of UCLA's academic and staff employees. Among her other accomplishments is her resourceful stewardship as co-chair with the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs for UCLA's academic preparation and educational partnership programs. Also, she was the co-founder of the LA Basin Education Deans Group and a member of Mayor Villaraigosa's Education Advisory Group. She currently serves as chair of the Institutions of Higher Education Collaborative of the LA Compact. Amy has held leadership positions with the UC system, including chair and vice chair of the UC Academic Senate and faculty representative to the Board of Regents. Before joining the faculty at UCLA, Dean Dorr was a faculty member at Stanford University, Harvard University, and even, sadly, that university across the city, USC. Actually, seriously, that's also quite a credential. She's also held a visiting professorship appointment at Beijing Normal University. She's a fellow of the American Education Research Association, the American Psychological Association, and the Association for Psychological Science. She received her BS in mathematics from Stanford University, where she also earned her MA and PhD in psychology. Quite a resume and a list of achievements. And I'm pleased and honored that we're here to recognize her and ask her to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Councilman Koretz and members of the City Council, it's been my privilege to lead the Graduate School of Education and Information Studies for 13 years. It's a really outstanding school. And we've done outstanding things with it and in it in the last 13 years. The commitment which Councilmember Koretz identified to equity, access, excellence in a multicultural society is one that we've taken very seriously and one that we bring into Los Angeles and the greater Los Angeles area, our community, every day with the best knowledge, passion, and performance that we can do. We have, wait a minute, here we go. Whatever has happened under my leadership couldn't happen without an enormous number of other people who are talented, committed, and energetic. There are many of them sitting back here, including my unbelievable assistant, without which life wouldn't go on, Leah Wilmore, and people who have been directly involved with the UCLA Community School, the Tie-Ins Project, and Center X, all of which will be specially honored separately, which we're very pleased for. Center X is where we prepare teachers and help in the professional development of teachers, and the same with school leaders who are committed to serving schools in the most underserved communities and committing to the success of those students. It's also the place where much of the other work for the community school and tie-ins goes on. But those two projects belong to all of UCLA. They would not happen without our Chancellor, Chancellor Block, and his great commitment to having us in the community. They are truly partnerships. I have with me up here today the principal of the community school, Georgia Lazo, and other people, Karen Quartz, without whom and whose vision the school would not exist. It is a true partnership, as is tie-ins, and we have two people here, a principal from, not a principal, the principal, Frida Smith from one of the 4 tie-in schools from Norris Dairy Elementary School, and Christine Shen, who is what those wise people asked for, the one contact who is devoted to them and will negotiate all of UCLA's bureaucracy. And she's done a fantastic job for them. Without all these people and everybody else here, they're all served in one of these projects one way or the other, we would not be able to do the things that we've done and contribute to the community that we all love and support. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And congratulations.
Mr. President, I'd just like to read the concluding paragraph, which states, the City of Los Angeles hereby congratulates Amy Dorr for her dedicated service and visionary leadership as a professor and dean at the University of California, Los Angeles. The city salutes her for her remarkable achievements and earnest and able endeavors and wishes her the best years to come in all avenues of professional and personal pursuit. We thank you for making the City of Los Angeles a better place in which to live and learn.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And also we have, as was mentioned, separate certificates of commendation for Center X, the UCLA Community School, and tie-ins, which are programs the Dean has helped lead to great success as part of her tenure. I'd also like to recognize here today Kevin Reed, Vice Chancellor of Legal Affairs, Yanina Montero, Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, and Keith Parker, Assistant Vice Chancellor of Government and Community Relations. So if you could have them all stand and be recognized as well.
Mr. Koretz, let me give a shout out to Brother Parker. How are you, my friend? Welcome.
And again, congratulations to Dean Dorr on your many accomplishments and the great things that you've done for UCLA and elsewhere.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And we're going together. Arnold.
Okay, now we're finished with the presentation portion of our program. For those of you that have come here to do general public comment and to comment on various items on the agenda, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to kind of go back and forth. We'll take up some items that has public comment, then we'll go to the general public comment. So it's going to be a little choppy, but I think it may move better if we do it this way. So with that said, Madam Clerk, I'm going to ask Mr. John Walsh to come forward, and we're going to take up item 17. Mr. Walsh. HollywoodHighland.org. Mr. Walsh.
New post up today, again, sex and politicians. Don't miss it. This is item 17. You know, I feel so relieved when I see that camera there, because that camera is the reason I'm not being arrested right now. Not the same thing over at MTA. But number 17, again, is removing REAP. We've said over and over again, we think that HollywoodHighlands.org has said, we think you're doing an excellent job with bad landlords. I'm lucky. My landlord, I've never had a lot of trouble with him. And he gives a lot of money to Israel, so I know my money is going someplace good, well. It's going someplace worthwhile. HollywoodHighlands.org, 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Okay, no speakers on the queue. Madam Clerk, can we open the roll? Close the roll. Tabulate.
13 ayes.
Okay. All righty. Next, I want to move to item 18. Mr. Sachs, if you please come forward. Mr. Arnold Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, Arnold Sachs. You want to Government Efficiency Committee Audits and Control for installation of revenue control equipment at all police commission permitted auto parks. Those be like parking lots, because I believe in a budget that was just passed, the City Council took, according to the article, $43 million in one-time parking revenue that was supposed to be allocated for parking repairs. $43 million in one-time parking revenue. How can you accumulate $43 million and then come up with revenue controls at police commission permitted auto parks? How do you get $43 million? I thought the city was in a financial crisis. Didn't Councilman Koretz ask for 100 or 200 good ideas on how to save money? $43 million is what the council used to help balance the budget. And so now that funding isn't available for its original use. And how does one-time $43 million become accumulated over a course of time. Considering 2 years ago, the city was considering selling parking lots. Now, they may not be these parking lots that are part of this item on your agenda, but they're parking lots nevertheless. And you would think that somebody from the city council will say, hey, by the way, at that time maybe we didn't have $43 million. Maybe you only had $30 million. Maybe you had $35 million. But the whole idea that that funding was available to help balance the budget, and not for services, mind you, but to pay salaries, is ludicrous. And the fact now that you want to use revenue control.
Okay, Mr. Sachs, why don't you stay where you are, because the next item you have a speaker's card on. And so with this, members, we're not going to vote on this. Mr. Zine wants to talk about it a little later. So the public comment on this item is closed. Mr. Sachs has spoken. That will bring us to item 27, Madam Clerk. We have a card from Mr. Sachs. Mr. Sachs, item 27.
The fund transfer to the Department of Building and Safety to provide expedited plan check services for which special fees have already been collected. That parking revenue is a special fee. Special fees in and of itself. Let's see. That was a special fee. The bus bench revenue is a special fee. The Sunshine Canyon landfill trash is a special fee. The AB 1290 funding is a special fee. I think what really would go a long way to helping the city understand the financial crisis that's occurring here, or the public, is to find out just how many special fees are listed. Like, you know, you do an index of special fees that are created through the city. How many are listed that are imposed on the city population, and how much is collected for each special fee, and what their use is for it, whether it goes to a councilman's to use in his own special council district, or whether it goes to the general fund to help pay for services or salaries. Then people would have a better idea of how you're magically able to discover a solution to a $200 million budget deficit by finding one-time special fees.
Thank you. Okay, on this item, let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, next we'll move to forthwith. Next we'll move to item 20. Mr. Walsh has a card. Mr. Walsh, if you could come forward and be prepared, we're going to do your item 20, and then after that I'm going to do 22, which you have a card on as well. So we're going to do 20 now. If you just stay at the podium, let us vote, then we'll go directly to your other item. Mr. Walsh, on item 20.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. New post up today, and also our endorsements are up. This concerns the Federal Historic Preservation Tax Credit. We're very, very supportive of this. I live across the street from Capitol Records. As you know, one of the great enemies of preservation has been drug dealing in our neighborhood. And I hope you saw that the feds came in undercover without telling the LAPD and arrested 5 drug kingpins in Hollywood because they didn't trust the LAPD. It's on the web right now. HollywoodHighlands.org. On number 21.
Just wait, John. We're going to... In fact, no, go ahead. And can we do it that way, Mr. City Attorney? Can I do 20 and 23 together and just let him do his public comment?
Well, 22, it should be on the board then.
Let us vote on this 20. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, now on 22, Mr. Walsh.
So easy over here compared to the mayor running the ship with no cameras at MTA. 22, again, is the importance of ports for the U.S. economy. We're thinking Mr. Buscaino is doing an excellent job. I don't need the full amount of time. When you do a good job, I tell you, and when you don't, I let you know. Take back your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand in support of this House Resolution 592, colleagues, by Congresswoman Janice Hahn, which promotes the importance of ports in the U.S. economy and security. The Port of Los Angeles is a critical piece of the international freight movement system and serves as a national economic engine and jobs generator. To that end, I consider it a priority to ensure that the importance of our nation's ports is recognized at every level of government and to guarantee the safety of our ports as well as the communities in which they are located. This bill promotes such recognition. I respectfully ask that you join me in this effort to ensure our nation's port remain both competitive and safe. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, thank you. On this item, I don't have a card on you, Mr. Williams. I mean, Dr. Williams, on this item. So on this item, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Let's move to item 24, Sean Murphy.
I'm for this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. On this item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay. Now let's move to item 25, called special by Mr. Walsh.
Don't want to waste a second of your time. HollywoodHighlands.org. And that was an ATF raid in Hollywood yesterday, under the nose of the LAPD. It didn't even know that they had an undercover agent. Number 25, Conservation Corps. Next round of community action projects, street lighting. Street lighting in LA, in Hollywood is great. Highland Park is terrible. John Walsh, HollywoodHighlands.org. Find out the next sex scandal since Zev on our website today. Thank you.
Stay close, Mr. Walsh. Okay, on this item, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, now we'll go to item 26, called special by Mr. Walsh. Pass. Okay, on item 26, members, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Now we're going to do some public comment, general public comment. I'd like to call Sean Murphy, Kenyatta Whiteworth, and Dr. Tom Williams. If you please come forward.
Good morning, Mr. President. Before I begin my presentations, can you please pray for my choir director? He's very sick. He's got chicken pox, and I hope we don't have to cancel our concert. Can you keep him in your prayer, City Council, please? Thank you. It's kind of unusual for anybody to get chicken pox. We need more libraries to stay open, and more cops on the street, and more fire stations to stay open. That's for the city. Thank you.
Okay, and we will keep him in our prayers, Mr. Murphy. Yes, sir.
I gave you a flyer 3 weeks ago.
Please. Identify yourself.
Good morning, Council. My name is Kenyatta Whitworth. I am a member of the Inland Boatman Union, which is the Marine Division of the International Longshore and Warehouseman Union. I work with a company, a tugboat company called False Maritime. I'm here in support of Joe Buscaino's resolution for SB 1243 that was presented by Senator Alan Lowenthal. I just want to bring it to you guys' attention.
Let me stop you for a minute,
Yes.
and we'll hold your time.
Okay.
Mr. Buscaino, you do have this item coming up later. It's item 21.
It's item 21. Okay.
And the way that it works, and it's good to see you, but I think this is the first time that I've seen you.
Yeah.
So to anyone else that's here from in or around the San Pedro region or here to support Mr. Buscaino, you need to fill out a card on that specific item.
Gotcha.
If that item is on the agenda, you speak to it when that item is called. But since you didn't know that, I will let you finish. But anyone else that's here, if you want to speak on item 21, fill out a card for item 21. Go on, Mr.
Oh, yeah, my
Whitworth.
apologies. My apologies.
No need to apologize.
Yeah, I
sir.
filled out a card, but I put public speaker on the card. I'm just a tugboat worker, man. But I just want to let you guys know the effects of not having an exemption for marine fuel tax. You know, hundreds of thousands of barrels, hundreds of thousands of gallons of marine fuel are transported in the ports of LA and Long Beach every year. And that secures a lot of work and a lot of middle-class paying jobs in all over LA County. I'm a product of the Kenneth Hahn District, Watts Willowbrook area. You know, I got my training to work in the marine industry through Job Corps that was sponsored by my union. I currently live in San Pedro, and I'm living a middle-class life because of these jobs that are generated from this exemption. False Maritime is a company that owns 2 of the world's 3 hybrid tugs in the United States. Not only do they generate revenue from moving ships in and out the harbor.
Thank you, Mr. Whitworth. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come down. Again, anyone down to speak on item 1, you need to get a card to me now. General public comment is not the place to show your support for that item. Dr. Tom Williams.
Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council, working on State Route 710 for the last 20 years. However, you have a renegade department within the city government. It's called the LA DOT. I use DASH. I like it very much. However, DOT has the sole representative of the city of Los Angeles on the Technical Advisory Committee. The Technical Advisory Committee has approved alternatives which would include the Sheffield and or Lowell local roads within the city of Los Angeles and in El Sereno. These were specifically excluded by a city council resolution. No surface construction in Zone 3. They also have a freeway that's not been considered by the LADOT as being a problem. So they have included one that is specifically excluded by council resolution banning and or opposing any development in zones 1 and zones 2 in Northeast LA. Isn't there anyone in charge of LADOT? The Transportation Commission is a joke. They do ambulances and taxis, and that's very good for those, but there's nobody establishing the policy and making sure that the city council policies are implemented by the sole representative of the city of Los Angeles to the SR 710 North Extension Technical Advisory Committee. So I'd highly recommend that LADOT be brought to the Transportation Committee to discuss this.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Okay, now we're going to go back to item number 2, Madam Clerk. I have 2 cards on item 2, Arnold Sachs and Michael Carrion. Okay, Mr. Sachs passes. Michael Carrion, item 2. And Mr. Koretz, you wanted to hold number 1 for a while, correct? You're okay now? All right, Michael.
Number 2 is another liquor license. I would like you guys to pay attention to this because eventually it comes back to bite you in the butt. You guys are handing out liquor license like candy, yet you're not paying attention until you have alcoholics and addicts coming in your house because they're addicted to alcohol. I'm speaking from experience. I'm a recovering alcoholic. The more easy you make it to buy liquor on the street corner, the more easy it is to become an alcoholic. And these liquor licenses are being handed out like candy. The Weezer passed one out the other day. Downtown LA has more liquor licenses than the state of California, I think. And yet, because this has a name on it of a larger corporation, Walgreens, they feel that it's okay. You guys give out liquor licenses. I'm tired, but I'm upset. Because liquor licenses are just being given to name brand corporations. If you have a name like Walgreens, you come in, you get a liquor license. If you got a name like 7-Eleven, you get a liquor license. If you got a name like Bob's Liquor Store, you don't get a liquor license. The same thing happens with the same people walking out of the same stores. They get drunk. And they run over people. The 2 people that are running for mayor aren't even paying attention to this. Shame on them. Like I said, I'm not speaking just because you're handing out liquor licenses. I'm speaking because I was an alcoholic for over 30 years. But yet, continue to hand out liquor licenses and continue to pay the consequences with lives. People that won't grow up to be voters, won't grow up to pay taxes in the city of Los Angeles.
Michael, how long sober?
15 years.
Congratulations. Okay, on this item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Next, we'll go to item 1, Sean Murphy, John Walsh, Jonathan Lahner, maybe, and Michael Carrion.
For item 1, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. And my father was a bartender. And let me tell you, what Mr. Carrion said, absolutely true. But you don't have to have a famous name to get a license. This liquor license is going to Beverages and More. Yeah, much more. And this is at 330 North La Cienega. They've paid off the Paul Koretz one way or another. And look what it says. Why are they getting it? They're getting it for a determination of convenience or necessity. Convenience means there are no other liquor licenses within 50 feet. We've got to get it down to wall-to-wall liquor licenses. And also necessity. There is no necessity other than the salesman, the firewater salesman, as Native Americans used to say. And you're going to pass it. It's fine. It gives jobs to cops to arrest people. HollywoodHighlands.org. Stick around for public comment. It will be very interesting.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. And I've been informed that your time for the day is over. Wait, no, he still has public comment? Okay, my bad. Jonathan, followed by Michael Carrion.
Jonathan Lahner, Burns and Bouchard, 11990 San Vicente, on behalf of Beverages and More. Good morning, council members. The PCN in front of you today is the culmination of 7 months of working with the local homeowners association and neighborhood council. Conditional use permit was approved at the end of April with the negotiated conditions of approximately 42 security, aesthetic, and operational issues to make sure that the Beverages and More at 330 North La Cienega was one that the community and the surrounding neighbors were both happy with, both excited about, and one that the council office could be proud of. I'd like to thank the council office's staff for working with us to make sure that we listened, that we responded, and that overall it was a good operation. So thank you, and thank you very much this morning.
Thank you. Michael, you want to come back on this one?
Thank you. It's a perfect example. If you had 42 issues, you've got a problem. 42 issues of security itself in that area, you got a problem with alcohol. And for those of you who are not paying attention, alcohol is a gateway drug. It's a gateway to methamphetamine. It's a gateway to, quote, medical marijuana. And it's a gateway to heroin. A lot of people want to disagree, but you have not walked in my shoes, so you haven't seen what I've seen. Okay? I'm also a registered substance abuse counselor. So I still see that. For the past 15 years, I've been seeing this. So I am against any liquor license. You have enough liquor stores in the city of Los Angeles that if somebody doesn't want to walk a block down or 2 blocks down, shame on them. They're probably obese anyway. Think about it before you vote on this. You guys are taking people's lives into your hand for another large corporation to make a few bucks. Again, I don't know what arrangements they have with Mr. Corrett's office, so I won't go there. But you should take every liquor license into consideration and ask. Every one of you, before you vote yes, should ask yourself, how many liquor licenses are within at least a minimum of 4 blocks? If you have one more liquor license, you should vote no. If they can't go 4 more blocks to get their liquor, they shouldn't be drinking. That includes all the restaurants and bars that are making alcoholics and drunks out here. I don't want to wake up one day and get a call that my child was hit by a drunk driver because you approved it. Shame on you if you just rubber stamp these things.
Okay, so on this item, let us open the roll, Madam Clerk. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, now we're going to go to general public comment. And I'm going to call Arnold Sachs, Olga Hall, and Robert Brody.
Good morning, Mr. President and council members. The only people that should be part of the working group for the Southwest Museum must be community, city, and the Autry. Outside entities, as Councilmember Lamonche wants, will only serve to delay and sabotage the efforts of the Southwest Museum community. Autry is not coming to the table willingly. They are being forced to obey the law. Councilman Lamonche is friend and supporter of the Autry, so his efforts will be to help the Autry avoid their fiducial duties. Outside entities do not have a connection to the community. This working group must only include community, city, and Autry. The decisions of the community must not be decided by outsiders. This is a David and Goliath battle. We are the David, and we want you to please do the right thing. Thank you.
Arnold Sack.
Yes, thank you again. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. Just very quickly, I really appreciate the city attorney making that ruling earlier this morning regarding what can be discussed when John Walsh was going to speak on 2 items. Couldn't you just make a special ruling, city attorney? Do you recall when we had the redistricting and you had the special meeting and we were in the special meeting and you said special rulings allow us to go from special meetings back to the regular agendas? A situation that had never occurred in, 500 meetings that I've attended in like 6 years. Make a special ruling. Who knows? Who cares? You know, you have a special ruling as long as you sleep. That being said, again, I'm interested in the fact that the city is going to not fill or eliminate 400 unfilled but budgeted positions. And what's pretty amazing is the city does that. The county follows through in the same kind of situation where they do not fill budgeted positions, or they eliminated positions that are budgeted but unfilled. But you know who doesn't do that? You know you haven't heard from? The state. How come the state doesn't announce in its efforts to balance the budget, we're going to eliminate budgeted but unfilled positions? How is the County of LA and the City of LA able to provide that service, but the state of California, with a $15 billion budget deficit, has no unfilled positions that have been budgeted that aren't being eliminated? And we have state legislators sitting in the council chambers. Mr. Gregorian, Mr. Koretz, Mr. Alarcon, Mr. Weiser, Mr. Wesson, all with state legislative.
Thank you very much. Robert Brady. Robert, followed by David Wright and John Walsh.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be in front of this such august body. It's the first time that I've ever spoken in front of public officials. But what struck me more than anything else today was the conscience that you all show of how you take this city and speak for its people. So I'm asking you that on June 1st to please approve CD4, which will allow the Southwest Museum to have another life in this city as the first museum in this city. And I ask that your conscience be your guide in allowing this to continue as a major anchor to the northeast section of our city. Thank you.
John Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, and the headline is that we are calling for an investigation by Cooley, D.A. Cooley, of the Cortinas Sexgate scandal, and we believe there should be some indictments there. If you want to know all the sexual details, come to our website. We would like to invite you to other websites, Ron KLA, Mayor Sam, Street Hassle, and also Los Angeles Dragnet. I'm here to speak about the station that you want to build at Constellation in the Century City, which is owned by JMB. When I spoke about this yesterday at City Council, I was 7 or 8 cops grabbed me. I was thrown out of the building, and I've been banned for 60 days. I will go to the First Amendment Coalition. They're not going to do it here because there's no TV. There's no live TV over there at MTA. And I'm talking now as a Jew. This is what upset them. My great-grandfather's name was Leo Berger, and he came from Hungary. Right now, we have a school built the same year as this building was built, 1928, which is under danger of poison gas because of the vote. Jewish children and poison gas do not mix. The threat of poison gas. And also, this is Hollywood High. It has, percentage-wise, the largest group of Iranian children outside of Tehran. People don't realize this. Little Tehran is Westwood Boulevard. You haven't read it in the LA Times. The Jews have moved out, except the Jews here are Iranian Jews, and they are also, these people are not just Jews, they are Christians. And I'm saying to everybody, think twice about voting for Barack Obama if he puts Iranian children under danger for building a subway. Thank you.
Daniel Wright is not here. Daniel Wright, please come forward. Followed by Connie Rutler. Is that correct, Connie? Come on up, Connie. And Janet Gunther.
Good day, council members. Daniel Wright, 467 Crane Boulevard. I rise to support the formation of a city family task force to investigate and report ways in which the city could leverage its resources to support a more equitable development of the Autry Museum in Griffith Park and the historic National Register treasure Southwest Museum in the Arroyo Seco. Unfortunately, there has been an effort by some members of this council to pack this city task force with Autry apologists from the museum industry. If you allow this to happen, it will lack credibility and it will appear to the public that some organizations will be granted a greater voice in the task force's research than others. Your task force ought to consist of the city family analysts from the departments listed in the original motion by council members Huizar Reyes and Labange. That is CLA, CAO, Recreation and Parks, and Cultural Affairs. This should be your task force, not the Autry's. Certainly, it should consult and receive information from the Autry, from the Friends of the Southwest Museum, from the affected neighborhood councils, and from the stakeholders of the communities affected. There's no need to stack this task force. Let's get a city council that has some information weighed and reviewed by the staff of your city family departments after an equal and credible consultation process. Last summer, when the Autry item was before this council, several of you stood and challenged the dubious ongoing claim that the Autry cannot fix the Southwest Museum. Now is your chance to put those words into action. Thank you.
My name is Connie Rutter, and I'm here to talk about the Rancho LPG facility in San Pedro, about which you have heard before. And so I'm not going to be very long. I've already addressed the safety committee. This site is so dangerous that even the consultant hired by Rancho and Plains admits that it's equivalent to 53 atomic bombs. 53 atomic bombs. One study shows that the area, and I can see I'm not impressing you even now. One study shows that if there were an explosion, which is very likely, if there were an explosion at that site, that the radius would be 6.8 miles. So that's a total of more than 14 miles. So we are very much concerned about eliminating that site entirely. It should never have been sited there.
Thank you. So it's Janet Gunter, Jody James, followed by, I think it's Ann Walnum. If I could see the three of you. Please, ma'am, go ahead. The floor is yours.
My name is Janet Gunter. I'm from the San Pedro and Peninsula Homeowners United. Again, here to speak again on the issue of Rancho LPG. Just to carry over a little bit from what Connie Rutter has already told you, this facility entered in under very precarious terms. It was exempted from fire regs, from CEQA law, and from the Alquist-Priolo Act. It established itself with 25 million gallons of propane and butane gas on an earthquake fault in an LA documented rupture zone of that fault to a substandard of 5.5 to 6.0 with a seismic capability of 7.3. Why this facility hasn't received Homeland Security funds. I don't know. I have in my hand 2 motions from your own city councils from 2005, 2007, related to the hazard of this facility and the need to relocate it. We're now going to see more tourism brought to the area. Within a mile is going to be the USS Iowa. The liability issue, the insurance issue to the city of Los Angeles, this was never considered in the EIR for the Iowa. Nobody's ever looked at the risk of this facility and the indemnification from any kind of liability from the facility. They carry a $500 million liability policy, and China Shipping Expansion alone was 2.56 billion or million, something like that. Anyway, we are way beyond what we should be in the way of assuming risk and liability for this facility. We need to find out why it's been insulated from being taken care of, why nobody's done anything on this, and we need to get to the bottom of it immediately. Please help us. We have a video we want to show. If we could do a presentation, we'd appreciate it. And the insurance records need to be subpoenaed by the City Council and its members. Otherwise, they will never show you what their policy is.
Thank you. Thank you. Jody James, followed by Ann Walnum, and followed by Martha Benedict.
Hi, I'm Jody James. I brought you a picture, but I'm speaking on the same issue that the previous 2 ladies have brought to you. And Janet mentioned that this issue has been addressed in 2005 and 2007, and you clearly stated in your files, thank you, that this facility is an unacceptable risk to the public and must be relocated. We have to ask Councilman Buscaino and also your President, Wesson. We have a 8-minute DVD that a professional has helped us to put together, because pictures speak a lot louder than words, and I think you'll be shocked to see the facts. So this is an ultra-hazardous activity, and it should be absolutely at the top of your list. Both previous speakers have told you that because we could not get an evaluation of risk to tell us what our community faced, the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council spent their money in 2010 to have an engineering firm do a study to tell us what would the risk be. And their analysis, the worst one, was a 14-mile diameter of destruction. And you can imagine, looking at the map, what is within that 14-mile diameter. Top of your list, please, full court press to get rid of this ultra-hazardous activity. Thousands of lives could be lost, both the port of LA and Long Beach. Please do your duty. The right thing to do is to move this. It cannot be made safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Please come forward. Do we have Ann? Whoever gets to the mic first, in the interest of time. Good morning.
I thank you for listening. We are from the Friends of Southwest Museum Coalition. You've heard some others of our group. You will hear many of us next Friday as the item scheduled for today has been continued. We want to continue the process of reviving Southwest Museum following Councilman Huizar's motion of last June. We were encouraged on that day by council support that was enunciated, especially Councilman Rosendahl. Did I see him step out? Okay.
He's here.
I want to thank him for his fond memories of going along Arroyo Seco Parkway, looking up at the museum. We've heard many fond memories as we collected 1,000 signatures in support of this resolution. During the 9 years we have suffered, during the 9 years from 2003, when the merger was announced, we have suffered continued disappointment as Autry National Center retrenched step by step from its merger promises of maintaining and improving Southwest Museum. Its current plan includes the extinction of the museum, saying they're looking for a new use. If that's not extinction, I don't know what is. But I know what is even more. The small opening that took place last Saturday revealed the truth about the dioramas in the tunnel, which are the memories most school children have of visiting that museum. During the process of Autry's stewardship of Southwest Museum, they first refused to change burned out light bulbs in the tunnel. Then, when there was a leak after heavy rains that damaged 2 out of the many more dioramas, they removed all of them. We haven't seen them since.
Thank you.
No.
Ms. Benedict? Ms. Benedict?
Good morning. My name is Martha Benedict. I'm the president of the Arroyo Seco Neighborhood Council. And last year, our council voted to support this motion that will be heard next Friday to form a working group to guide the future of the Southwest Museum as well as the Autry. We urge particularly that you include in this working group representatives from the community, not just confine it to museum professionals and city staff, but actual boots-on-the-ground people who look and enjoy that museum in the way it's been sitting separate from us on these last several years. Last weekend, it was finally open for the first time in 6 years. A very small portion of the collection was on display. I invite you all, please come tomorrow. Start your holiday weekend in a wonderful way. Come to Northeast Los Angeles and see the Southwest Museum, open for the first time in 6 years. It's a beautiful building. The weather will be gorgeous tomorrow. It's a gorgeous view from up there. Please come and enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now I still have a few public comment cards, but now we're going to go, Madam Clerk, to item 21, I believe called special by Mr. Buscaino. So, Joe, we're on item 20.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I introduced this resolution in support of SB 1243 by Senator Alan Lowenthal, which extends the partial tax exemption for maritime fuels. This exemption will make California ports and airports more competitive with other ports and airports in other states and countries. There are approximately 1,000 to 2,000 jobs in California that are directly linked to the maritime fueling industry, many of which are right here in our city. The Port of Los Angeles is the largest container port in North America, and we must do everything we can to ensure it maintains its number one standing in order to continue to grow jobs and the local economy. And colleagues, without this legislation, the tax exemption will sunset and would collapse the maritime fuel industry, which will both devastate the industry and lead to the loss of businesses and jobs, not only in the city but across the region and also in the country. So I ask for your aye vote to move forward to support this resolution. Thank you.
Okay, there are no speakers on the queue. On this item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay. Moving back to general public comment, Denise Scott, Noel Weiss, Annie Booth Green, please come forward. I don't see Miss Scott. Come on, Noel. Annie Booth Green, followed by Dow House Dude.
Okay. This public comment?
General public comment.
Thank you. A couple of things. One, Mr. President, under Section 217 of the Charter, you, on your own authority, can issue subpoenas. I think the Rancho situation that the ladies spoke about is something that's worthy of your consideration. You could start a task force. You could lead on this. This is something you don't want to have a problem under your watch, Mr. President. And the fact is, we need full disclosure, we need openness, we need transparency as far as defining the risk. That's really the issue. This idea of socializing the losses and privatizing the gains, that was Wall Street. That should not be San Pedro. That should not be, and I don't think anybody on this council wants it on their conscience that they could have done something and they failed to do so. More importantly, on another related matter, I noticed on the West Chandler Boulevard situation, Mr. Kretz introduced a motion to have the council set aside the land use entitlements on that project as ordered by the court. But we're still lacking leadership because of the fact that we need to have a redo. That's what the court requested. I believe that that's what we requested, and I believe that that's what the court ordered. And my request is that Mr. Koretz demonstrate the leadership, to the extent that he possesses it, to be able to order the planning department to do the necessary redo on this project, a reevaluation. That's what they did on Ratner's Deli. That's what the law requires, but we're not getting it out of Mr. Koretz, and he needs to step up. Finally, with regard to one other issue, land use entitlements in general. These land use entitlements are given. The property owner procuring them promises to indemnify the city for the costs the city incurs in defending. We need to have that done by the city council in all these land use cases so that maybe a lot of the speculation on the backs of the people would stop. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Noel, and thank you for informing me that I have the power to subpoena. I might subpoena you. I know you are. Okay, now, is there Annie Booth Green? Annie Booth Green? Don't run. Hi.
Hello. Thank you very much for your time this morning. And I'm speaking on behalf of the Southwest Museum. And I was so excited that it was open last weekend for the first time in 6 years because it was my first chance to go to it. And what an amazing vision Mr. Lummis had. And I just know that the vision can be served again for the greatest good of the city and for the Autry and for the neighborhood especially. I just wanted to say a couple of things about, I was very moved by the kids who are working against discrimination. And I just feel that in some ways it feels like the Native Americans have had their land taken from them again, as our nation has done before. And I have an article here that the UN has come and said that the U.S. needs to give back land to the Indians. And I kind of feel like, you know, the Southwest Museum, it feels like they're being discriminated, and it kind of feels like the neighborhood is being discriminated. And anyways, I just know that Mr. Autry would do everything to save the Southwest Museum and have it stand independent and not under the umbrella of a Hollywood cowboy. Not that there's anything wrong with that, except Hollywood has done some stereotyping against the Native American too. I find it interesting that Mr. Loomis was born in 1907, which is the same year Gene Autry was born in 1907, the same year that the museum was founded. And he also helped to save a town in Ohio that during the Depression was going through serious financial disasters, and Mr. Autry helped save that town. And it was a town in Ohio, which is where Mr. Loomis walked from. So anyways, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I wish the comments had...
Thank you. Sergeant, if she has something to give us, then you can give it to the sergeants. Okay, Mr. Dude.
Well, you probably noticed that I never have a speech written. I don't need it. I'm just talking about homelessness as it strikes every single human being in the world. We are not acting on behalf of humanity when we leave people outside of the established society where if you have money, if you have a home, you're okay. But if you don't, you're a piece of, there's many names for that. Anyway, Mr. Alarcón, I congratulate you for having a homeless son. You know why? Because that shows me that you're not a corrupt official that could easily talk to somebody and get a house for anybody else. So I vote for you on your trip to Sacramento. At any rate, I am telling you, read the manual. I have given the city council a book at least 3 times, and I doubt that any of them have read the book. It's a social experiment in which the people get together and finance each other out of homelessness forever. We lose landlordship. Everybody has a home and nobody's paying rent. Tell me where the financial crisis is if nobody's paying rent. When you actually earn the money and use the money for the improvement of society. Thank you.
Okay, now let's go to the Valley for Herbert Thompson and Jeanette Hopp. Mr. Thompson.
Good morning or good evening, Mr. President. How you doing?
Fine, sir.
I would just like to announce today the relocation of Pacoima Community Youth Culture Center. We are located at the Mount Zion Baptist Church, 13401 Vaughn Street in San Fernando. In spite of all the efforts that we tried to get city funding and city help, we're still able to open up the doors to our constituents and in San Fernando Valley residents who need our assistance. We implemented new programs that's going to be a big impact in the community. Also, I like to say I do love Pacoima, even though I live in Van Nuys. I go to church in Pacoima. Our minister is he's one of the presidents of the Ministers Association, and which they have a big impact. And also, I like to state in our victim rights program, we have one-on-one victims' rights assistance, which we do intake, which we assess individual needs. Also, we're dealing with drug addiction, a 12-step program, and Alcohol Anonymous program. So, Mr. President, what I'm trying to tell you, we have a lot of programs implemented, but we're still not getting any funds. Someone could contact me. My email address is lowercasing Herbert Thompson 69 at yahoo.com. My tremendous effort in volunteering and my humanity work shouldn't go unnoticed, punished. But, Mr. President, if you can reconsider or consider helping me get funding, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Ms. Hopp out there with you? Yes, please come forward.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and City Council members. My name is Jeanette Hopp. I am a resident of Van Nuys and have been for 36 years, and I am a resident of the San Fernando Valley as a whole for 60 years. And I would like to let you know that I'm here this morning to discuss the fact that you have a resolution to discontinue video conferencing. I am actually seriously opposed to discontinuing the video conferencing, and my reason is that it seems to us that whenever you need to save some money, you disenfranchise the San Fernando Valley. You'll forgive me, I get a little excited. San Fernando Valley is important to the city and, of course, to us. We are a large tax base for you, but yet whenever something happens, we are disenfranchised. I wonder if the council recognizes the far-reaching ramifications of discontinuing the video conferencing. If you were to do that, I believe that this would give people who are proponents of cessation a very good argument for that fact. I am not. I am very opposed to cessation. I realize that we cannot sustain ourselves and that we need you as you need us. So please keep that thought in mind before you decide to disenfranchise us any further and discontinue video conferencing. It is important. We are important, as are you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. After this card, it'll conclude general public comment. Kathy Knight. Kathy Knight. And this is on general public comment. So on this, you cannot speak to item 28.
Yes, hi. My name is Kathy Knight. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. And I've worked with the Spirit of the Sage Council, Chief Johanna Vera Rocha of the Shoshone-Gabelino Nation. And I've done a lot of work with Native Americans, the local indigenous people here. And I just support everything about the Southwest Museum. And I think it's time that we really start respecting them. Many of their ancestors were dug up in the Biono wetlands for a housing project, 1,400 of their ancestors. It was so tragic. Burial places up on Loyola and over on the bluff over the wetlands, a very spiritual place there was dug up. I think we really need to start respecting the indigenous people of this area and really honoring their culture. They've been living here for 10,000 years. They left it a beautiful paradise for Europeans and whoever to come over here and live. And there's so much wonderful things in their culture. And I just would like to see us really, really, really start respecting this culture. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes general public comment. Madam Clerk, at this time, Mr. Buscaino, are you ready? Let's take up item 21.
21, I thought.
21. Oh, no, 23, I'm sorry. 23.
Hey,
My bad.
If we can, Mr. President, do public comment first. We have cards on this item.
Okay, Philip Vaughn, David Way, Arnold Sachs. Philip Vaughn, David Way, Arnold Sachs.
Good morning, City Council. I'm Dave Way. I'm the Pacific Battleship Center's tour manager and museum curator for the Battleship Iowa. Our executive staff was unable to attend this meeting today since they have been on board Battleship Iowa this past week, waiting for calmer seas off the California coast to permit a safe tow of Iowa from the port of Richmond to Los Angeles. Yesterday, we did receive confirmation that tomorrow, Saturday, Iowa will cast her mooring lines off at 10 a.m. and pass underneath the Golden Gate Bridge around 2 p.m. for an approximate 3.5 to 4 day tow, depending on the weather, to her new home port. We wish to thank the Los Angeles City Council for their past support and hope they will continue showing their support for this magnificent and historic battleship by approving our permit with the Port of Los Angeles. Our staff is extremely excited to finally bring Iowa to her final berth and open up her compartments to become another Southern California attraction, contributing to generating business and creating unique educational experiences.
Take this and talk with
From 1919 to 1940, the United States Navy's Pacific Fleet laid anchor off the coast of Los Angeles before being ordered to Pearl Harbor to be further deployed as war clouds loomed. How very fitting it is to return an American battleship to the Port of Los Angeles, where so many of her preceding battleships were once a common sight along our waterfront. Again, we can hardly wait to show our refurbished ship to her new home port and watch her positive impact to the local community grow. We look forward to welcoming visitors to what is still considered to be one of the greatest warships ever built. Thank you again for your support, and welcome aboard.
Thank you. Okay, Philip Vaughn, followed by Arnold Sachs.
My name is Philip Vaughn. I'm the president of Vertex Productions. We've been honored by the Pacific Battleship Center to be selected to design the experience inside the ship when she finally comes to San Pedro and when we open her up to the public. We look forward to telling the story of the ship and of the history of World War II and the other campaigns that she served in Vietnam and in Korea and in the Middle East. I am convinced that a museum like this in the port will bring a lot of awareness to the history that we think is so important for forthcoming generations. I'm also, on a personal level, have been visiting San Pedro for the last 25 years. I have a sailing boat at one of the marinas there, and I've watched the city and the attractions in San Pedro struggle to really struggle to really succeed there. And I believe that the introduction of the Iowa to the port will really help bring tourists to that waterfront. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Arnold Sachs. Then we'll go to the Valley for Scott Gray. Following Mr. Gray will be Todd Lindgren. Yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Arnold Sachs. Without a doubt, this will be a great addition to the port. That being said, what plans have the city departments, parking, and the police made to consider the impact of traffic that'll occur? When the Navy Week was held in San Pedro, I believe one of the fallouts were the fact that traffic was impacted terribly on the 110 freeway. People couldn't get on or off for 3 hours. This is going to be a major draw to San Pedro. Has there been a brain trust get-together, that's an oxymoron here, to get together to decide
Thank you. Thank you, Scott Gray, Todd Lindgren, and in fact, Mr. Gray, I apologize. He's in San Pedro, not Van Nuys. And after Todd Lindgren, Noel Weiss. So, Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mr. President. San Pedro, the new home of the USS Iowa. I'm with the San Pedro Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I'm speaking in support of this agreement because this is a great day for San Pedro if you approve it. USS Iowa is the beginning of a brand new economic era for our entire Los Angeles harbor area. In fact, it has already had an economic impact. Because we have the ship coming here, we were able to convince the Veterans Association of the USS Iowa to bring their reunion here in July. It's going to be the biggest they've ever had. Already we have 600 people pre-registered, and that's going to result in more than $500,000 in direct revenues right in our community. And I have to say that I think that this was Councilman Joe Buscaino's first economic development act as a city council member, because right after he was elected, he helped us to secure this reunion for San Pedro. In the future, there will be many more like it, simply because we have this great attraction, the USS Iowa. So I certainly ask you to approve this and benefit everyone in this entire region. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Todd, no, you're last.
Members, my name is Todd Lindgren. I'm Vice President of Film LA. Los Angeles, as I hope you all know, has the best film production infrastructure. We have the best crews, the best stages, and the best locations. And this battleship will complement that infrastructure and provide local filmmakers a really unique asset. Film LA was supportive a couple of years ago when we wrote a letter to bring the battleship here. And as I understand it, the ship was used in the movie Battleship, which is currently in theaters, but we all know it's been a star far longer than that. So I am here to urge your support on behalf of Film LA, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. And to close, public comment, Noel Weiss.
Thank you. The Iowa situation, I think, again, I did not review the environmental impact report, but anybody who's watching this, I urge them to do so, because I wonder if and to what extent there was any reference at all to the fact that within a mile to 2 miles is 25 million gallons of butane. I don't know that the U.S. Navy would appreciate that kind of exposure, which again raises the stakes in terms of the need for the community to have openness and transparency relative to evaluating objectively the risk that we're talking about. This is, if you're talking about maybe the facility can be used for parking. Frank McCourt did pretty good as a parking lot operator. He was able to end up owning the Dodgers. But the bottom line is we need to evaluate the risk potentially that exists relative to this project, relative to the waterfront project, and the extent to which insurance, because that's really what we're talking about, to adequately insure the risk reflected by this situation, and that relates to the environmental impact report, because I don't know to what extent there was any reference in the environmental impact report to these issues, and if not, maybe supplemental or whatever, but I expect it needs to be discussed and addressed and not, put under the shelf. Thank you very much.
Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just some exciting times before us here in the harbor area. The USS Iowa has a storied history and is one of the biggest, fastest, and most powerful U.S. battleships to ever sail. Upon approval of this item before us, which is to permit to allow the USS Iowa to make its permanent home to the Port of Los Angeles. There are so many wonderful things happening in San Pedro, and the arrival of the USS Iowa is one that will transform our waterfront into a world-class destination, one that will be enjoyed by both our local communities and by tourists and visitors from this country and around the world. The transformation of our waterfront into a vibrant destination will include an interconnected network of promenades, of harbors, open space, cultural attractions, shops and restaurants that will bring new life into our beautiful community, and the presence of the USS Iowa will help make this dream a reality. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the mayor, his staff, harbor commissioners, the port staff. Mr. Christensen's here, thank you, and most of all, our veterans for their unwavering support throughout this entire process. Also want to thank Congresswoman Janice Hahn, who was a champion to help bring this battleship to our port. I'd also like to thank each of our supporters that you heard from here today who spoke about the coming of the USS Iowa. All of our supporters, even the Pacific Battleship Center, have put in so much hard work and energy into making this happen. I just can't tell you how much this means to the harbor area, to the city of Los Angeles, and the entire 15th district. So, colleagues, today I respectfully ask for you to approve this matter before you today and join me in welcoming the USS Iowa to its new home on berth 87 in our very own Port of Los Angeles. And if you want to track its voyage from Northern California, log on to pacificbattleship.com. And it's a great day at San Pedro in the harbor area and for the city of Los Angeles. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you so much to Joe Buscaino for leading this fight forward and building on what Ms. Hahn had laid down, and to all the folks who have been a part of this from the historical perspective, from the San Pedro community, and from Navy Heritage. This is a proud day for Los Angeles. The USS Iowa was the first of its class. We are very honored that the USS Los Angeles, which I was lucky enough to go on the last voyage from San Diego before it was decommissioned here in Los Angeles, was the first of its class. But as folks know, when you're the very first of a class, all the rest of the ships bear that name. So the USS Iowa class, the Iowa class battleship, was critical to the victory that we achieved in World War II. And this was a ship that fought in 3 different wars, 4 actually, 4 conflicts, and also was one that had a huge place in history, shuttling FDR overseas to meet with Churchill and Stalin in Tehran. There's a bathtub that's installed especially for Mr. Roosevelt. It was its keel was laid when it was first commissioned by Eleanor Roosevelt. And I can think of no better place and no better Navy town, even though much of those Navy resources have left San Pedro. We have great history in Los Angeles as one of the great Navy centers of this country. And so I know that Joe is going to be able to shepherd visitors there. I think many of us are extremely excited. And on behalf of the United States Navy, I just wanted to say thank you for doing this. Thank you for bringing something that is befitting, bringing the sea to the city and the city to the sea, as you often say. And it is time for us to make sure that all of us know what an incredible treasure the harbor is and what great history the USS Iowa provided this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to rise, take a moment to congratulate Mr. Buscaino for bringing this project home after a number of years of effort to try to make this historic resource a part of Los Angeles, a tourist attraction. It's going to be a great day for Los Angeles and certainly for San Pedro when the Iowa comes into the harbor. And I think that it's especially fitting that we take this final action and carry the ball over the goal line with Joe on the Friday of Memorial Day weekend. when so many of the last remaining veterans that we have of World War II are preparing to think about their fallen colleagues on Memorial Day, that we bring this not just a tourist attraction, a real part of history and a real memorial to the service that so many offered during World War II. A couple of weeks before his 21st birthday, my dad hit the beach on Okinawa, the last great battle of World War II. And there were 3 Iowa-class battleships who were helping to keep him alive. I remember growing up hearing him talk about what it sounded like to have a 16-inch shell go over your head as you're moving forward, and hearing those things like freight trains going through the air and hitting the island that he was about to land on. So for me to be able to come now and walk on the decks of a battleship like that, thanks to your efforts, Joe, and those of your predecessor, Janice Hahn, it means a great deal, and it's going to mean a great deal to the people of the city for many generations to come. So congratulations.
Okay, before I call Mr. Zine, Madam Clerk, you have to make a statement or something to that effect?
Yes, Mr. President. For the record on this item, the environmental impact report, the final environmental impact report, was considered and approved by the Board of Harbor Commissioners at their meeting on May 17, 2012, and is not before Council for certification.
Okay, Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. The proud veterans that are going to be able to see that beautiful ship in San Pedro, and the people of Los Angeles that will travel to San Pedro, a vibrant part of this great city, to see a very positive environment. And I've been to that area many times, and I've wondered why we haven't enhanced the facilities to draw more tourists, to draw more people. And I know that under the leadership, you will see it happen. Joe Buscaino, it will be happening, transformation from an industrial, a port of entry for cargo, some cruise ships, but then people go down there and enjoy the opportunities to dine, to see the sights, to tour the ship. And it'll be a wonderful opportunity to really enhance job opportunities, so many positive things. So I know that your predecessor started the program, but you're making the delivery, which is positive. Has it left San Francisco yet, do you know? Tomorrow leave San Francisco to head to Los Angeles. So great. Congratulations.
Mr. Rosendahl.
Yes, thank you very much. And at this point, I put on my veterans hat. And every time I put on my veterans hat, I have to think of what went on in Vietnam and all the men and women who came back from that war, where frankly I was a psychiatric social worker in dealing with the war. It's always part of me. And on Monday, Memorial Day, a very fitting moment, I will be at Venice Beach with the fellows that were involved in World War II, the African Americans who were not appreciated, and I'll be there to salute them and to give them an honor for being who they are. And I just thank you, Joe, for again showing incredible leadership. This is absolutely great. And I look forward to us all appreciating when we put a person on a boat, or we put them in a plane, or we put them in the troops, they put themselves in harm's way for all of us. And we should always honor that. So I salute you for doing that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Madam Clerk, open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Thank you. Let's move to item 28. And Mr. Rosendahl, I think, has an explanation as to how he wants to move forward with this. Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. There's been a healthy discussion going on behind the scenes with community people and with Playa Vista. And so I want to continue this item for a week, but I can only do it if Playa Vista agrees to it. And I'd like to have Mark Hoffman come on up, who's Vice President of Planning and Entitlements, who will ask for an extension of a week. It will give a chance for Playa Vista and community people to meet and to discuss this issue. And I defer the public hearing for a week from now if my colleagues go along with continuing it after Mr. Hoffman makes his comment.
Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you, Councilman. Yes, my name is Mark Hoffman. I'm Vice President of Planning and Entitlements with Playa Vista, with Playa Capital Company, as Councilman Rosendahl mentioned. We understand that there were some late questions regarding our parks that we want to work with the council office and the community to address. So we'd like to request the continuance until next Friday to come back and do that.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, sir. Without objection, that item will be continued until next Friday, or
To next Friday.
and
June
that
1st.
date, Madam Clerk?
June 1st.
Okay, thank you. Item 18, Mr. Zine. We've already had the public comment on this item.
Thank you. In April 2011, we introduced a motion. This was after an audit by our controller regarding parking occupancy tax collections and parking lot operations in the city of Los Angeles. Mr. Teefank, if you could take the center chair, along with our representative from the Office of Collections. A significant uncollected debt. We discovered since 2008, $23 million has not been collected from parking lots. And these are parking lots that charge a 10% tax when people park there. An audit was performed, and they found out that $23 million of city money that was collected by these properties were not turned over to the city of Los Angeles. It's a cash nature. As we know, parking lots are cash. People go in, they pay cash. The accounting is in a shabby condition. And our city, we know, is losing $23 million. So May 2012, the committee that I chair, Audit Government Efficiency, came up with the reasonable solution with the police department, the Office of Treasurer Finance, to change the way we do business and to help eliminate fraud and delinquency with this situation. And what would happen many times is a parking lot would not be paying the dollars to the city that they've already collected. They change ownership, they change names, they'd play every game imaginable. The city attorney would try to chase them down, get involved in litigation, and it was really not accomplishing much. So we request the city attorney, with the cooperation of the Office of Finance, to prepare and present an ordinance to amend our municipal code within 30 days to require all auto park operators to post a bond to satisfy delinquent parking and occupancy tax. There currently is not a requirement that they have a bond. And such a bond would help mitigate our vulnerability, and when a company dissolves without paying the city its collected taxes, we could use that bond to help generate those dollars that the city is owed. Again, these are dollars that the park lot owners collect. They're collecting that money and keeping it and not paying the money to the city. So request the city attorney, with the assistance of the Office of Finance, to prepare and present an ordinance to amend this LAMC within 30 days and to provide to any auto park that has any delinquent taxes or any unregistered or non-permitted auto park to be required to install revenue control devices. This is something new. Have the ability to accept credit, debit cards, and monthly parking as a condition for granting a permit to operate in the city of Los Angeles. Equipment will act as a deterrent to those who may cheat the city out of the money that's owed the city at a point of sale on the lots, and facilitate more effective and efficient audits and accountability on the part of the lot operators. Also, suspension of an auto park permit upon finding or withholding of funds, or preventing our city auditors from inspecting auditing parking activities, and hold suspension until specified conditions are met. And the reason we want suspension as opposed to revocation, because it allows for swifter action and we can get our money that we are rightfully owed. And we talk about $23 million. $23 million means 270 police officers, 77 plus miles of street resurfacing, 230 firefighters. That's what $23 million brings to the city of Los Angeles. So when we talk about the dollars that these, and I'm not saying all parking lot owners are cheaters, but we know that $23 million worth are cheaters. So what we want to do is stop parking lot tax cheats, and we want to make them pay, since they are collecting the money that's due the city of Los Angeles. So with that, our representatives that are at the center table, whichever wish to go first.
That's your visuals, Mr. Zine?
We did these We did this.
Did you do it yourself?
No. I don't have that artist ability. Thank you. Tony.
Whoever.
Ed Cabrera, Assistant Director, Office of Finance. First of all, we would like to thank Councilmember Zine for his support and the support of his staff in working with the Office of Finance, as well as Mr. Richard T. Fank from the Police Commission, as well as the City Attorney's Office. The Office of Finance has been working on this item for many years. The three proposals that Councilmember Zine speaks of today are items that the Office of Finance believes wholeheartedly are needed in order to put more effective tools within Finance's toolbox, as well as CID's toolbox, to ensure that scufflaw parking permit operators who are collecting trust fund taxes from the users of their lots on behalf of the city, that those funds are remitted to the city. As Councilmember Zine indicates, Office of Finance has conducted audits over the years where we have identified revenue that is due to the city that has not been reported and paid to the city. Unfortunately, we have seen these parking lot operators declare bankruptcy. We have seen them change from one corporate entity to another. We fully believe that the bond requirement, which is modeled after the City County of San Francisco's bond requirement for all parking lot operators, that places the city ahead of the game, that addresses those operators so that in the event they are delinquent, we have a bond. The method of changing organizations would be caught up front because the bond would allow the city to capture that revenue. The second item, as far as the revenue control equipment, we believe for those delinquent operators that have had the historical pattern of not paying parking occupancy tax revenue to the city, that the deterrent from installing this revenue control equipment will ensure that these operators remain in compliance. And then finally, as Councilmember Zine indicates, a major problem is the lack of cooperation from these operators. We believe that the suspension of a police permit for the lack of cooperation in the audit process would again be an additional tool that would assist the Office of Finance as well as CID in the compliance and administration not only of the tax laws but also the regulatory laws administered by CID.
Thank you. Mr. T. Fank.
Richard T. Fank, Executive Director of the Police Commission. We totally support the work of Councilmember Zine and members of his staff. We believe the three items before you make good sense. They will assist us in enforcing the auto park permits, and also it will serve as a significant deterrent to those who do not want to pay their funds and then who are identified in an audit, making them have the additional expense of installing revenue control equipment to ensure that they're going to remain in business in the future, that we have a good count of what vehicles are parked there, the kind of money that they take in, and then lastly the bond piece. The bond will ensure the city is made whole for those individuals who do not pay the city.
So again, these are dollars that the park lot owners collect. They're collecting that tax. The mayor wants to increase that another from 10% to 15%. And my question is, we're not even collecting the 10%, leave alone the 15%. This will clean that up. This will make those people who are running a business, a cash business, accountable to the city of Los Angeles. We encourage you to vote aye.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. West.
You're over. Mr. Englander.
Yes. Mr. Zine, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense, right? So how much money is that? 23 million? I want to thank you for bringing this forward. I know Mr. Krikorian tackled this in the budget, and we had some language in there to go after some of these tax cheats as well. So I appreciate you, and you've been working on this for a long time. I know those charts, you carry them around in your car, in your back pocket, everywhere you go, and appreciate you bringing them here to council. Again, one thing is I've got a friendly amendment, a verbal friendly amendment, if you would entertain the idea. A lot of these tax cheats actually change the name of their company often, and they don't pay the city, and then they go ahead and they open up another company, and they operate other lots under different companies and under different partnerships, and a lot of their family members, in fact, have a lot of these as well. Recently, there was one who, without going on the record right now, just filed bankruptcy to stop from having to pay the city, and now this owner and their principals are operating other lots. So I'd like to have a friendly verbal amendment that says it's those companies in your last motion and or any of their principals or partners in their businesses as individuals as well. And so we make sure that they stop and we close all those loopholes. And thanks for bringing this forward. If you would accept that friendly amendment.
We want to make this as wide as possible, and want to emphasize again, this is money that they're collecting that they're supposed to turn over, and they're basically robbing the city of money that they're collecting. So absolutely, it's a good
Mr. Rosendahl, you're up next.
Where'd Mr. Rosendahl go?
You need to race to your chair.
Various levels.
Bill Rosendahl.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. President. Sitting on both, Budget and Audit Committee, it's a no-brainer, obviously. It's what I call gold in the gutter. If $23 million hasn't been collected, somebody's been playing a little hanky-panky here, and I'm very, very happy that the transparency of this strategy, be you pay by credit card, be you do the other thing, whatever we can do that makes sure we get that money is key, obviously. I'm surprised it took so long for us to get to this point, to be candid, but I want to thank my colleague, Mr. Zine, for pushing it further, and Mr. Krikorian and both committees, Mr. Englander too, everybody involved. So it's a no-brainer. I just want to go on the record and say it's gold in the gutter. We need to get, the sooner we get it, the better off we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. With that said, Madam Clerk, open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Forthwith.
And that's approved as amended.
And that's approved as amended. And that brings us where on our agenda?
Mr. President, a special one resolution has been circulated. I believe Councilmember Perry will speak to the findings and the Rule 23.
Okay, Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I believe the city attorney wanted me to make the findings that there's a need to make take immediate action on this matter, and the need for action came to the attention of the City Council subsequent to the posting of the agenda for today's council meeting, as this is a matter that will be voted on June the 5th.
So, with that said, Mr. City Attorney, we can just vote on this item, correct? Oh, we vote on the findings. So let's open the roll on the findings. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes, 2 noes.
Okay. Ms. Perry, proceed.
Matter of the motion itself, this is a new $1 tobacco tax paid only by those who purchase tobacco products and will generate approximately $735 million each year to support life-saving research and tobacco prevention programs. Prop 29 will also provide vital funding to make advances in prevention, detection and treatment of cancer, heart disease, and other smoking-related illnesses. Now, the dangers posed to our health by tobacco cannot be understated. It remains the single most preventable cause of disease, disability, and death in the United States. The county's Department of Public Health and the City of Los Angeles have some of the highest tobacco use rates, with an estimated 434,000 smokers. The Department of Public Health also notes that the harmful effects of smoking do not end with the smoker. An estimated 336,000 children, 585,000 non-smoking adults throughout Los Angeles County are exposed to secondhand smoke, which is associated with a wide variety of diseases and health problems. The American Heart Association, the American Cancer Society, the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, the American Lung Association, Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, the Live Strong Foundation, and Stand Up to Cancer support Prop 29 because they know it will save lives and keep children from smoking and may lead to a cure. Apparently, the Los Angeles Board of Supervisors, County Board of Supervisors, and the Los Angeles Unified School District Board members have endorsed this measure too, and I believe the City of Los Angeles should join in supporting this effort before the June 5th election.
Thank you. Dion, I got a card on this, but we had already begun discussion. Nice. So must I hear this public comment card?
Yes, you should. Yes.
Okay, Arnold, come on.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Arnold Sachs. Stopping smoking is a choice, But the real question here is, as Councilman Perry mentioned, this bill will generate $735 million. Well, we heard in council chambers that the bill to require sales tax be collected by companies like Amazon will generate $1 billion. And out of that $1 billion, $150 million, which was the part that you discussed in your chambers, would go towards education. So the question was asked, well, what about the other $850 million? Same kind of situation. $735 million will be generated, but seriously, how much of it would go? Can you say $735 million will go to research, will go to preventive measures? No. You can never make that promise. You can't even say 10% would go towards those situations. So until you step up and say, we need this money, we want this money, and we're going to promise to spend it on research, we're going to promise to spend it on programs that eliminate smoking, you're just, I don't know, using a larger spoon to collect more revenue without concrete ideas. Remember, the same thing was said about the tax. $1 billion will be generated, only $150 million of it will go towards tuition assistance for middle-class families. Still don't know what happened to the other $850 million.
Okay, thank you. On this item, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, what's before us now, Madam Clerk?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Okay, they're posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Rosendahl requests to leave at 11 a.m. on May 29th. Councilmember Garcetti requests to be excused on June 1st and 5th. Councilmember Huizar requests to leave at 11 a.m. on June 6th. And Councilmember Perry requests to be excused on June 8th, to arrive at 11 a.m. on June 12th, and to leave at 10:45 on June 20th.
Without objection.
That clears the desk.
Okay, members, announcements. I'm going to make a quick announcement. I'm sure that many of you heard, and I believe either Mr. Parks or Ms. Perry is going to adjourn for a great bishop, not just in the African American community, but internationally known, Bishop Brookins. His services are next Friday at 11. I know we're at a bare quorum. I am asking some of the members who are excused if you could please rework your schedule so that you could come in, because I just had to deny a request to Councilmember Parks. There are other members on this council that had a real, genuine connection with Bishop Brookins. So I am requesting to, I think Mr. Huizar's staff, Mr. Labange's staff, I'm drawing a blank on the other name, but anybody who has received permission to take off next Friday, if you could readjust your calendar and be here to give me the flexibility to release those members that I think it's really important for them to be there. Now, I will go to the viewing the day before, so I will not attend. I will be here, but for the other members, please be sensitive to members who had a direct relationship with him. So that's my announcement. So contact my office as soon as possible to let me know if you guys can rearrange whatever city business it is you have on June 1st so that we can accommodate all of our colleagues. Other announcements? Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Muscle Beach, this Monday, Memorial Day at 1 o'clock, the Muscle Beach International Classic and Armed Forces Championship will take place. And that's right there on Oceanfront Walk, as you know. The annual Muscle Beach International Classic and Armed Forces Championship is presented by bodybuilding.com. After the bodybuilding competition, there will be a ceremony to honor the Tuskegee Airmen Incorporated, the Los Angeles chapter. Please join Brigadier General Roger T., Senator Ted Lieu, Assembly Member Betsy Butler, and yours truly to honor the first African-American aviators of the United States military. Again, it's at Muscle Beach on Memorial Day, May 24th at 1 o'clock. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Alacon.
Yes, I'd like to announce that on Memorial Day, Pioneer Cemetery in Sylmar, which is a historical site in Sylmar at 14451 Bledsoe at Foothill, will be having a Memorial Day observance recognizing the veterans, American veterans who are born there, dating back to Civil War veterans, by the way, on both sides. So it's an interesting opportunity for people in the Northeast San Fernando Valley to recognize veterans, but also visit this unique site. Again, the address is 14451 Bledsoe at Foothill, and this is the Pioneer Cemetery Memorial Day observance.
Okay, Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to invite everyone to the Canoga Park Centennial Celebration 5K Run this coming Monday, Memorial Day, at 8:45, and then 11 a.m., the annual Memorial Day Parade, Canoga Park, the All-American City, and that is going to be on Sherman Way, just east of Topanga Canyon Boulevard. And then there will be a family festival at Quimby Park at 7000 DeSoto Avenue, DeSoto, just south of Sherman Way. So that's this coming Monday, Memorial Day. Bring your family and friends out for the 5K at 8:30 and the annual Memorial Day Parade honoring our veterans, our military personnel, United States Navy Commander Garcetti. At the time, I said 8:30 and then 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock. So are you going to be there, Mr. Garcetti? All right, thank you very much. Okay, we will be there. Looking forward to seeing you. Again, thanks to our veterans, thanks to our military.
Yes.
God bless America.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Joey B.
Thank you, Mr. President. On Sunday, join me at the 22nd Annual Croatian Independence Day celebration at Croatian American Club in San Pedro. Kicks off at noon to 8 p.m. on 9th Street. And on Monday, Memorial Day, the observance at the Green Hills Cemetery. And like Mr. Zine, I want to thank and honor our servicemen and women, both active and those who are our veterans, for their service to our great country.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you. Tomorrow we'll be having a work day in Glassell Park at the Glassell Park Elementary School, 2211 West Avenue 30. And that'll be a work day at Glassell Park Elementary School when we build a garden in the school, so please come on by. And I will try to make it over to Canoga Park, but I'm going to be starting my Memorial Day with Mr. Huizar and his district, as I do every year, at Cinco Puntos, which is the place where we have the memorial for Mexican-American soldiers, airmen, Marines, servicemen who have been part of this country. And there's a 24-hour vigil leading up to that, in which there's an hour, including through the night, which people our sentries there in front of the memorial, and we'll have a ceremony there, so we look forward to folks coming out. That'll begin about 9 o'clock in the morning on Memorial Day. Thank you.
Mr. Englander.
Yes, thank you very much. This weekend, all weekend, in fact, starting this evening, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, we will have the Greeks, the Great Greek. We're going to have the largest Greek gathering, as we do annually in the city of Los Angeles, with the Greek Festival at the St. Nick's Greek Orthodox Church on Balboa and Plummer. And so starting this evening, we will have approximately 50,000 people coming this weekend. And come on for great food, fun, family entertainment. It's a terrific festival, the Greek Festival this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more announcements? Members, let us rise. Everyone in chambers, please rise. Sergeants, we may need a little assistance in the back. If everyone could please rise, we're going to go through our adjourning motions. Okay, adjourning motions. Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would like to adjourn in memory of Bishop Hamill Hartford Brookins. He was a pioneering civil rights activist and a longtime pastor of the First African Methodist Episcopal Church. Bishop Brookins was very active in the political arena and served as a mentor to our own former mayor, Tom Bradley, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, and former Congresswoman Diane Watson, among many, many others. After he arrived at First AME Church, he helped form the United Civil Rights Committee that during the 1960s and 70s lobbied city leaders to improve housing, education, and law enforcement in his community and united the African American community around these efforts. He played a key role in advocating and securing African American representation on the Los Angeles City Council, helping to unite and support leaders like Tom Bradley, Billy Mills, and Gil Lindsay, all of whom were elected to the City Council in 1963. He was considered the architect of several mayoral campaigns run by the late Tom Bradley and actively supported his campaign from 1969 and beyond. After he was elected bishop of the AME Church, he remained active in Los Angeles, chairing the South Los Angeles Development Corporation, and in this role he helped to provide employment to many young African Americans. He was recognized by former President Bill Clinton for his lifetime of religious, political, and social leadership in Los Angeles. He was one of the few select religious leaders who galvanized the African American community and engaged fully in the public process. He led through his congregation and constructed a multi-million-dollar cathedral. We have lost a great leader and advocate in our city. He is survived by his wife, who is also a pastor in the 9th District in South Los Angeles, the Reverend Rosalind Kyle Brookins, his son, Sir Wellington Hartford Brookins, two stepchildren, Stephen Hartford Brookins, and Reverend Francine A. Brookins, and a number of other family and friends, and he will be sincerely missed.
All members. Mr. Parks.
Thank you. I would like to request the council adjourn in memory of Beverly Yvonne Blake, passed away on May 17th at the age of 69. She was born in 1943 at Hutchinson, Kansas. She was the youngest of 7 children born to Lloyd and Irene White. Not only did Irene unexpected pregnancy catch everyone by surprise, but at birth, Beverly weighed less than 2 pounds and wasn't expected to survive. She not only survived, but thrived, the first of many extraordinary accomplishments in her life would reflect. Having moved with her parents to Los Angeles, she graduated from Los Angeles High School in 1961. She married Harold Clifford Blake Jr. the same year. 3 years later, Harold died in a traffic accident, leaving the widowed Beverly with the daunting prospects of raising their 3 young children alone. Characteristically, she rose to the challenge, not only providing for their basic needs, but working several jobs sacrificially to provide them with the broadest possible opportunities in life. In 1992, driven by the passion to serve, she founded the Interagency Council, a nonprofit that would provide affordable housing, job development, neighborhood organizing, groceries, appliances, and meals, and children toys for thousands of impoverished families. In 2007, Beverly was recognized by Assemblyman Mike Davis and the California State Assembly as the Woman of the Year for her landmark work protecting the African American founded town of Allensworth from potentially destructive encroaching interests. She served as a board president of the Church of the Living Word and in leadership capacities with community organizations such as the Second AME Church, Vermont Harbor Neighborhood Council, and the United Job Creation Council. Beverly was a woman of exquisite taste in every respect. She was a lover of life and relished good music, art, food, and conversation. Her greatest joy was caring for her family, a lifelong commitment that she carried out often to the very end. Among those she cared for was her ailing mother, Irene, whom she lovingly attended to until her passing in 2001. And she was equally attentive to the needs of her young grandson until a stroke incapacitated her at December 2010. Beverly survived by a host of family members. Her funeral was held yesterday at Forest Lawn Memorial Park and mortuaries at Forest Lawn Drive.
Thank you.
I would like to second that. She was a constituent of the 9th, and anybody who knew her and would like to send her family a message, they can do so on Facebook. Forest Lawn provides that service now.
So ordered. Mr. Garcetti, did you?
I wanted to add something to just Bishop Brookins and have a couple adjourning motions as well. So whatever order. Should I say something about Bishop Brookins first?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
I just wanted to join in remembering Bishop Brookins and thank Ms. Perry for and yourself for the adjourning motions. I was at the AME conference just a few weeks ago with Ms. Perry and Mr. Parks and yourself. Sat next to Mr. Brookins' sister, and he's somebody who my father knew extremely well as well, and somebody who just was a life force. To have seen his life. It's difficult to say cut short because he lived so long and he had such a full life, but the impact he had in this city, I don't think people realize how closely tied he was to the election and the rise of Tom Bradley in this city. So I just want to join in to thank him for his friendship over the years and his amazing impact in the city.
Okay, now I'm going to go to Mr. Rosendahl. If we could get a wide shot of Mr. Rosendahl, he has two guests with him.
Folks, it is with great sadness I announce the death of Maja, the founder of the Kishi Ashram and an HIV, AIDS, and LGBT advocate, passed away on Friday, April 13th, after a hard-fought battle with pancreatic cancer. Ma grew up in Brighton Beach, Brooklyn, just a short walk from the famous Coney Island boardwalk. It was at this time when she encountered the struggle and plight of the impoverished. The homeless people who lived under the boardwalk inspired her to begin a career of service. After taking a class on yoga, she set off on a journey that led her to India, where she transformed into a widely respected spiritual leader all over the world and a tireless champion of the less fortunate. In 1976, Ma moved to Florida and founded Kashi Ashram, a place that allowed her to teach the importance of love and empathy. In the 90s, she became known especially for her passionate advocacy for people living with HIV/AIDS and for her support of the gay and lesbian community. I might add, in that context, she used to come on my show all the time. And she has publicly said all over the world that one's nature is one's nature. You either accept yourself or you don't. And that nature comes from God, and God makes no mistakes. And she preached that all over the planet. When she was here in Los Angeles, many of you knew her. Mr. Koretz knew her from the West Hollywood days, where she got involved with all of the HIV issues. She wrapped herself around these folks. And I went down to the ashram because my good friends, the Guthries, were very close to her. And I spent some time with her there and saw all kinds of people from all over the world living there. And that just came out of my heart to say that. But back to the official script. Among her accomplishments, Ma guided different service projects throughout Kishi. These projects included the River Fund, a service organization that cared for hundreds of HIV/AIDS patients in India, Uganda, and the U.S. By the River, an affordable housing community for low-income seniors. And Under the Bridges, a Los Angeles-based food service program providing 600 lunches to the needy each month. Ma offered the example of spiritual path of love, faith, creativity, service, as well as emphasizing individual spiritual growth. She encountered and encouraged her students to use what she teaches within their own faiths or traditions, and above all, to practice kindness and love. Through her ashram in Florida, through her work with the World Parliament of Religions, through her constant search for connections that bind us instead of separating us, she was a true spirit who transformed those who came in contact with her. Her early death from cancer last month does not change the legacy. And so today, the day before her birthday, let us pause, celebrate someone who truly made a difference in this world. Ma will be missed by all those she has touched by her unwavering support, generosity, and uplifting spirit. And tomorrow in Florida, the river there that exists, the lake that exists, her ashes will be put in there. And people are coming from all over the world to celebrate her life and to live her life going forward. Standing with me are two folks who feel as strongly as I do about her, that had the pleasure of getting to know her. And we also wanted you to see a picture of her if you didn't know her. And may she rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Buscaino. Wait, Mr. Correct.
If I could just be added as a second on that.
Yes. Mr. Buscaino, followed by Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, colleagues. Today I adjourn in memory of Big Willie Robinson. Willie Andrew Robinson III, 69, was a founding president of the National and International Brotherhood of Street Racers that ran a drag strip on Terminal Island for many, many years. He died Saturday of an infection that led to heart failure at Sharon Care Center in L.A. Born in New Orleans on September 12, 1942, Robinson spent a year at Louisiana State University before moving to Los Angeles to attend UCLA. He was drafted into the Army in 1964. He served with the Special Forces in Vietnam before returning to Los Angeles in 1966 and resuming street racing. In the Times obituary this morning, retired LA County Sheriff Bill Chafin said, "Every time that track was open, crime went down. Pretty much all the cops knew that when Willie's track is open, it definitely makes a difference." And he went on to say, virtually all the street racing stopped because now they had a place to go. Robinson, whose wife died in 2007, is survived by his mother, Lula Mae Simmons, a sister, Jean Davis, and a brother, Don Ray Robinson. May he rest in peace.
Thank you, Joey B. Mr. Zine, you wanted to comment on that?
I knew Big Willie. He worked with me when we tried to curtail street racing in the San Fernando Valley, and he had an activity at Harbor Division. I remember going to his wife's funeral, Tanika, a wonderful, beautiful person. I remember during the service, it was held in Pasadena, and it was a very somber time, and he stood up, and everybody, because Big Willie was huge, huge in stature, and he started speaking about individuals and how they helped him through his life, and just an incredible individual. He was so big, he was frightening sometimes when people didn't know him, because he wore that jacket with the Brotherhood of Street Racing, right. And just a wonderful man of a great heart. I didn't know he'd passed away, but he just a wonderful man who did so much good. When his wife passed, it really shattered his life. And a wonderful man who tried to stem gang violence. Just an incredible human being. I'm very sad to hear about his passing. May he rest in peace. Big Willie Robinson.
All members on that, Mr. Buscaino. Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you. And Mr. Kurtz and I aren't sure if we adjourn for Rick Brown. Do you know if we have any record of that? Okay, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Rick Brown, who died April 20th at age 70. Second healthcare activist. Have we done this one, Mr. Rosendahl?
Yeah,
okay, that's what I was checking in.
Rosendahl
Thank you,
indicated that we've done.
Yeah, the service. Why don't we announce the service, because I know that they've just said that. The service or celebration of his life is going to be held at UCLA. Sorry, Mr. Rosendahl, I'm glad that it was adjourned. Right. No, May 29th, it's coming Tuesday from 6:30 to 9, the day after we have Memorial Day at the UCLA Schoenberg Hall, 445 Charles Young Drive East. That's 6:30 to 9 p.m. For anybody coming to commemorate the life of Rick Brown, a great health policy advocate. We lost two with John Glass in the same month, a sad day. But another Brown, I'd like to also adjourn in memory of Wesley Brown, who was the first graduate, African-American graduate of the Naval Academy. He wasn't actually the first to attend, but 5, because of the extreme hazing that they experienced, had to drop out, and he was the first black graduate of the Naval Academy. He entered the academy in 1945 and graduated in 1949. As I mentioned, the 6th black man admitted in the 100-year history of the Annapolis Military College, but the first to withstand the kind of hazing that was unfortunately too common then. The rest had left within a year, and he made it through all 4 years and graduated. White midshipmen refused to sit next to Mr. Brown. Racial epithets were whispered behind his back. Fellow plebes barred him from joining the choir. All of it mixed behind that this was just the normal hazing that all plebes went through. But what was different from his predecessors is he had an academy commandant who intervened to protect him from excessive harassment, as well as a group of individuals, one of whom was later the president, Jimmy Carter, who, when he was there, went and visited him and told him that, encouraged him to hang in there and to graduate. And Jimmy Carter did that while he was there. He was a fellow member of the Academy's cross-country team. In a speech last year at a Naval Academy event, Mr. Carter recalled Midshipman Brown as part of my first personal experience with total integration. and a few members of my senior class attempted to find ways to give him demerit so that he would be discharged, Mr. Carter said, but Brown's good performance prevailed. While African Americans have served in the armed forces since the Revolution, but they remained in segregated units until 1948, and he was part of the desegregation of the Naval Academy. He continued a great career in the Navy, retiring as a lieutenant commander. He was in the construction corps and was a civil engineer who served in both Korea and Vietnam. And when he retired from the Navy, he worked at Howard University in Washington until 1988. He passed away of cancer, but his life, which started in Washington, D.C., and ended there as well, in 2008, Naval Academy dedicated a new facility for athletic programs that was named after him, the Wesley Brown Field House. It's a $25 million structure that bears his name and makes us all remember what he went through breaking the color barrier. May he rest in peace.
All members on that as well. Okay, members, we are adjourned.